We call the March 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. We are the Marion County School District Leadership Team. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and productive. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, transparent, and individually responsible. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and be accountable. We will always put students first. We will leave a legacy of success. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting everyone in the audience to please remove their hats and turn off their electronic devices or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located in the lobby. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board clerk no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedure applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Board clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Allison Campbell, District 1.
Here.
Mrs. John Brown, District 2.
Here.
Mr. Eric Thomas, District 3.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Thrower, District 4.
Here.
Mrs. Diane King, District 5.
Here.
Dr. Diane Gullett, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Jeremy Powers, School Board Attorney.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Joanne Crowder, Fine Arts Program Specialist, and Mr. George Albright, Tax Collector. Please come forward and introduce the individuals that will lead us in our inspiration and pledge.
Good evening, Board Chairperson Reverend Cummings, Vice Chair Mrs. Campbell, Board members Mrs. King, Mrs. Thrower, and Mr. Browning, Superintendent Dr. Gullett, Mr. Powers, and Ms. Martinez-Lopez, and all of our guests. Since 2012, the Marion County Tax Collector's Office has partnered with our schools, and they offer a unique art program called Kids Tag Art. Kids Tag Art inspires our students' creative abilities by allowing them to design their own license plate. And you all should have your license plates up at your desks, yes. And I will get you the student names. I know you have the schools they came from. But each is unique, and every school that participates earns 100% of sales profits through our partnership with Woods Printing, and they also receive sponsorship funds donated to our elementary art programs. The fifth graders at every school and fourth grade at Sunrise are the ones who participate. And now it is my honor this evening to introduce Marion County's tax collector, Mr. George Albright.
Thank you, Joe. I'm a graduate of Lakeware High School, the old Lakeware High School, and it brings back a lot of memories walking in here. The joke I was going to make is, for the last 12 years I've come down there and there wasn't room for public comment. Well, you certainly can't say that now, can you? This is wonderful. Anyway, it's my pleasure to announce that through the Marion County, thank you, Public Education. I've never been this old before. Education Foundation, we've raised another $20,132 this year, bringing the total up for about $200,000. And it's just, I know you all know, let's give them kids a hand. Yeah. And we know that art is so much of a gateway to higher learning as well as creativity. And I know you all are tired of me saying it, but I got to tell it again because a year later, down at the old school board office is where they used to have the art contest, much like this. And they put us on the bus in the mid-'60s from Weirsdale, and that took like all day to drive from Weirsdale to the main office. And that's one of the few times I've been to Ocala in that year. I was just so excited. But in all seriousness, I was a terrible student in the art, but I never forget it, that I marveled at how those fourth, fifth, and sixth graders could draw. And I mean, even to this day, it had a profound effect upon me that there are people that are that talented in that platform. So not only should we identify them, but we should encourage them, and with what you all do and the program, they can flourish. I think we have some young men that want to help us out here, don't we, Joe?
Yes, we do. I'd like to introduce you to our county's elementary lead visual art teacher, Mrs. Jamie Roche of Maplewood, And she's here tonight with two of her 5th grade students who participated in the program, and they have their tags with them. But first, they're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have Hayden Hoekstra and Robert Swanson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, no, could we have them come a little bit closer with that so I can see that? My goodness, that's incredible. Oh, yeah. All right. Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, that's.
A mountain scene and flowers.
Yes.
Now, you all did that art? My goodness. Congratulations. Wow. And I have to, Chairman, may I?
Got it.
Okay. Mr. Albright, I am so thrilled to see you here. I don't know if everybody knows his history back into the legislature and what he's done for this area. And he won back in, I don't know what it was, about 2000 or something, maybe 2006 or something, the first environmental award, along with a senator. He was in the House of Representatives, and at the time he was pushing barbecue, as I recall. And he is an institution. His father is was an institution, a running mate of mine. And sir, just congratulations and thank you and for doing this artwork and raising money. It's just one more stitch in the fabric of what you've contributed to this community.
Bless you. Well done.
Hold on, Hayden and Robert. This is about you guys right now, not Mr. Albright. We just want to tell you guys thank you for the wonderful artwork that you guys have done, but not only to you two, but to all of the students in the district that participated in this endeavor. Mr. Albright, we thank you for your part that you guys play in this, because you make sure that monies are raised and it goes to a worthy cause. And we have some gifted kids all around this district that are very artistic. I was going across to see everybody's tags, because each one of us got a tag. Each one of us got a tag as well, including the superintendent. So I know the cameras will probably pick it up, but we all got tags. And every year I've gotten the tags since I've been on this board, and I appreciate the tags, and I have a collection now. So thank you guys so much, and continue the artistic work that you guys are doing. This is why we understand that art is creativity and is needed in the classrooms and is needed in the schools. So Ms. Crowder, thank you. Ms. Rush, thank you so much for what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Did the boys have anything to tell us?
Yeah, we want to make sure, Kevin, if they had anything they need to say to us, they need to
Ms.
say.
Crowder, did the boys have anything prepared to tell us about their artwork? Do we know, Ms. Crowder? Okay, well, we certainly want to hear that from them. I know their families are here, and we want to.
Yes. Parents, you guys ought to be extremely excited about these kids. Please come on down and take your pictures if you want to take a picture of them.
You want to go take pictures with them?
Yeah. We're going to go down and take pictures.
We're coming.
Stay there.
I'll look.
got it.
So I just talk to Mike?
Wait till they get back up on stage and then you can tell them what your tag art is about and how you got the idea and that kind of thing. Just wait till they get back up there. You may tell him, just tell him about how you got the idea and what your artwork is.
Okay, I can talk now.
You tell him your name and what your art.
Hello, my name is Hayden Hoekstra. And anyway, Joe, here's how I got the idea of my picture of the dinosaurs. So I was originally going to do cows, Joe, but how I draw the body of the cows looked a little bit like dinosaurs to me, so I said I rechanged the idea of dinosaurs for the little dinosaur picture of an island. And also my picture is it's like a dinosaur island with a mountain and houses and a shop and a store and a White House and trees and grass and a blue sky and a beach.
That's great. Thank you.
Listen, artists have the opportunity, they have the luxury to change their mind in the midst of their creativity, so good job.
Yes, excellent.
Hello, my name is Robert Swanson. In my picture, at the time I was learning how to blend art, so I decided to blend my flower petals with other colors, and then I combined them with wheels.
Thank you so much, Robert. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crowder.
Thank you.
And shout out to Maplewood. Congratulations on having the two artists from Maplewood.
That's right. Go Mustangs.
Wow.
Dr. Anna Streeter McAllister, Coordinator of Grants and Federal Programs, please introduce the Ocala Marion County Association of Realtors.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Board Member Cummings, Vice Chair Allison Campbell, Board Members Browning, King, and Thrower, Attorney Powers, Superintendent Dr. Gullett, and Ms. Martinez-Lopez. It is my honor to introduce Mr. Randy Alvord from Ocala Marion County Association of Realtors, who has joined us this evening along with his committee to recognize the recipients of the 2021-2022 school year Teacher Mini Grants awarded from their association's Community Awareness Committee. Mr. Alvord.
I'm gonna stick this up front, if that's all right. Thank you, Dr. Streeter McAllister. Appreciate the introduction. I've been doing this a long time. Everybody's laughing at me up there because they've seen my face at least once a year here at the school board meeting. I should come more often, but I'm here now, so.
Thank you for coming.
Clap for you.
No problem. And I was joking when we were with Darlene a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, look, I think this is my 5th or 6th year presenting it, and I just make up some random number of years, how long we've been doing it. So Darlene actually researched it, and this is our 18th year doing the teacher mini grants here at the Marion County School Board. They're awesome teachers. We started back in 2004 with a $3,000 cap. That was our grant limit. A few years later, we decided, that's not enough. Let's give some more. So we did $6,000 a year for about almost 10 years. And then the last 3 or 4 years, we've been doing $10,000. And this year, I'm honored to say we have 16 recipients. I hope most of them are here today for a total of $10,184.50. So along with me today is our association executive, Darlene Yantz, our 2022 president, Jenny Wright, our 2023 president-elect, Larissa Ortiz, Lisa Herrero, Denise Babeau, Sonia Bravo, and Sonia is the chair of our Community Awareness Committee that kind of oversees this process every year, so we appreciate all the hard work Sonia puts in every year, of course. So, and who else? Did I miss anybody? I didn't miss anybody, did I? Good. Again, I just kind of like to always go through because it's amazing when we're sitting there going through the grants. Kind of gives me that warning, that encouraging feeling that, we have teachers in our community that are going that little extra mile to, and again, most of these grants are anywhere between $150 and $1,500 for the most part. But a lot of requests this year to basically just replace old worn out materials. So we pretty much tried to grant every one of those. Sensory equipment, I'm going to go ahead and put a plug in for us, but our school business partner, Hillcrest, got awarded 2 grants. We had a request for materials, me being the right winger, and of course I had to say something right wing. Request for materials to teach U.S. government in a comprehensive manner, to understand the motivation for the creation of the United States. I love the way that it was written, so I had to write that down word for word. Testing coordinator, from Westport High. Another great request, just wanted to have, and I love the way she worded it, said she wanted to have the materials organized when she conducts the test, that the students have a better chance to succeed. And I just, that everybody like, oh yeah, check mark, we're giving that money away. Westport, I believe, also professional photography equipment and AV equipment, and what that one discussed was taking professional photographs for interviews and teaching them interview skills. So a lot of great recipients here tonight, and I apologize I didn't just name everybody there, but we do have somebody from our committee, or 1 or 2 of them. They're going to come up and read the names and their principals and the schools they're from, and then hopefully we'll have a photo op moment. All right, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to introduce the schools, the principal, and the teachers that are receiving the grants. The first one is Harborview Elementary. Rob Hensel is the principal. The teacher, Holly Burgess. Marion Oaks Elementary School, Principal Lisa Dyer. Teacher, Sandra Heller, and Don Michelle Moles. Reddick Collier Elementary, Miss Cooper, the principal. Miss Comfort and Mary Beth Goki are the teachers. And then we have Bellevue High School, principal, Mackenzie O'Connor. Forest High School, Elizabeth Brown is the principal, and Lori LePayne is the teacher. We have Westport High School, principal, Ginger Cruz. Teachers are Elizabeth Slivka and Paul Langley. Westport High School, we have principal, Ginger Cruz, and the other teachers are Chris D'Artero, Emily Wilson, Joe Baker Rich Gustafson, James Singleton. And then we have Hillcrest School, Lori Manrenza. And then we have Hillcrest School, Amy Onsby, teacher Lori Manrenza. Horizon Academy at Marion Oaks, Danae Williams is the principal, and Don Meyer is the recipient. Thank you.
We've never had this small of a turnout, but so next year what we're going to do is we're not going to give the money before the school board meeting, and more people will show up. So, right, yeah, come on up front. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. We expect. We want you to. Oh my gosh.
Alfred, thank you so much for the Ocala Board of Realtors. We appreciate what you have done for this district through the years, not just on this year, but through the years, and thank you for the stewardship. And congratulations to all of those schools and those teachers that were recipients of these funds. So again, thank you guys so much for your support of our district and our education. Thank you.
Chair?
Our honor.
Yes, and I'd like to add, real estate is like everything when it comes to funding this area. The folks coming down, ad valorem taxes, the money that goes to Tallahassee comes back down to us. Congratulations for the great job, and please extend that to your membership, because it's a huge group of incredibly professional people that just make the world go round.
Thank you, appreciate that. I'm going to expand on that just one bit, Mr. Browning.
Yes.
In our preamble and of our code of ethics, one of the first lines in there is, under all is the land. So literally everything is real estate, no matter how you look at it. So I'm glad I'm in this profession for as long as I've been in it.
Yes, sir.
So,
Thank you again.
Thanks, Randy.
all right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, members of the board. I recommend approval of the agenda for March 8th, 2022, school board meeting with the materials in the board packet, those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting, with the exception of items D19.1, D19.2, and items C17.5, C8.1, C9.1, C10.1, C12.1, C12.2, C14.2, C14.3, C17.1, C17.2, C17.7, and C18.1 that have been pulled and placed under discussion.
Thank you, Superintendent. May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
So moved by Vice Chair.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Board Member King. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passes unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the January 20, 2022 administrative briefing and work session?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Board Member Thor. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the January 25th, 2022 school board meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell,
Second.
seconded by Board Member Thrower. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposers have the same sign. Passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 26, 2022 special administrative briefing and work session?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Thrower,
Second.
seconded by Board Member King. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the January 27, 2022 special administrative briefing and work session?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell,
Second.
seconded by Board Member King. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 28, 2022 special administrative briefing and work session?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Thrower,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Campbell. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the February 8th, 2022 school board meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member King,
Second.
seconded by Board Member Thrower. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. I'll now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board on tonight.
Thank you, Chair Cummings. In compliance with Section 286.0114 of Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of tonight's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table in the lobby. Public speaker forms are also located at the same table. The completed forms were due to the school board's clerk no later than 5:40 p.m. Tonight's speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board clerk. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to other people. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. Pursuant to the procedures for public comments, item 6, speakers are not to identify specific individuals other than themselves or their child unless the statement is provided 24 hours in advance. The board is here to listen to your comments only. You may be directed to an administrator staff member following the conclusion of your comments for further assistance to address your concerns. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students and or their families are also prohibited. A public speaker's speech does not reflect the endorsement, sponsorship, position, or expression of the school district. Thank you for the attention to these board's requirements. Chair, that concludes my explanatory remarks. Thank you.
Martinez-Lopez, do we have any speakers tonight? Thank you. Ms. Slaughter.
Melanie Slaughter, 4525 Southeast 12th Avenue, California.
Slaughter, pull it down just a little bit. Thank you.
Not accommodating the shorties among us. Okay. Ocala, Florida, 34480, SLAUGHTER. I'm here to talk to the board about sideline cheer. The reason why I'm here is because there seems to be a disconnect among the different high schools about how sideline cheer is viewed. But essentially, there is varsity, junior varsity, there are tryouts with all of the high schools. Some of the high schools, specifically Bellevue and Forest, treat it as a sport, where it's under the athletic department, it is under the listed as a sport. All the high schools list competitive cheer as a sport, but they do not list sideline cheer as a sport. So sideline cheer begins, and I know because my son plays football, they condition all summer. They go to every football game, away and home. They go to basketball games. They go to volleyball games. They participate along with the football players and everyone else all summer for all the games. They cheer for all the games. They go to all the games. They are not recognized the same way as the boys are that participate in sports. And MCYFL, which my younger sons did last year, they are. The girls are treated with just as much respect as the boys. They have all-star cheerleading. They are rewarded for what they do. And I think it is not an intentional thing, but I think it's an inadvertent thing that has happened with the schools, that sideline cheer is not valued. And these girls spend a lot of time doing this. They spend a lot of effort doing this. They train all summer to do this. They go to all the games, and they are not, even though there is varsity and junior varsity cheerleading, they're not given a letter. Well, why does that matter? Well, I've got a junior son that's getting ready to apply to college next year, and getting a varsity letter matters for college. So these girls that have put in all the time and all the effort and all the, I would submit to everybody, as much time in as the boys do, cheering and getting ready to cheer and participating in the games, are not treated the same way. And I've researched other schools, especially in the northern part of this state. They go to the football awards banquet along with the boys. They are rewarded along with the boys. They are treated just as good along with the boys. And I would just request that we look into this, because it is under the athletic department. At Vanguard High School, the athletic department determines how many cheerleaders there are, how many can go to varsity games, where they can cheer. I mean, if you're going to put them under the athletic department, make them pay a participation fee, make them get a physical, then let's treat them as an athlete. Let's let them have the same rights and benefits that the boys have, that they go to every single game with and that they cheer for and participate in. Because in other jurisdictions, they are treated and valued just as much. And I would just ask the board to consider that, because I don't think that they are treated the same way in this area. So that's what I have. And then there's something that was pulled for discussion that if you're going to allow comment on, I'll just, well, a cut above, I think is the name.
Cut different.
Cut different. That's the name of the group. It's a fantastic organization. It is an amazing organization. I've had calls from at least 15 parents since it was put on the board agenda about how great this organization is. Is it going to come to my son's school? Can I get my son involved? And I would just say that everybody that has called me in the last, since it's gone on the board's agenda, thinks it is a fantastic organization for African American boys, and it makes a fundamental and profound difference in their life. So I know it was pulled for discussion. I would just say that as a member of the community, anything that you can do to support this organization is money very, very, very well spent. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Slaughter. I do want to, Ms. Slaughter. I always walk too fast. Please, I need to get some information about sideline. That's my first time ever hearing the term sideline cheer. I
That's
never
who
heard
the
of it.
cheerleaders are on the sidelines, but the competitive cheer is something different.
Correct.
Competitive cheer, they're actually participating in tournaments and
That's in the spring.
that's in the spring,
That's a totally
right?
separate thing. But the sideline cheer, those girls cheer all year long.
Right.
They cheer in the fall, they cheer in the spring, and they are not treated the same way. It's not a club because you have tryouts.
Right.
And they work out all summer along with the boys, and they go to all the games along with the boys, and they are not treated as a athlete participating in a varsity sport, which why you have JV and varsity and why you try out and why you make it a big deal about that, and then you don't treat them the same as, I don't understand why that's going on.
My question would be, is this something new? I mean, when I played sports here, cheerleaders were cheerleaders, and
It's because competitive cheerleading has become something new.
Right,
Since we were in school,
Okay.
competitive cheerleading is something
It
new.
used to be
so-
that you got the letter when you
Correct.
cheered
Right.
in high school, but
Correct.
now that they have competitive cheerleading, it's not in every high school. I don't think Forest and Bellevue treat them the same, but I think they basically say cheerleading. But I think in a lot of the other schools, I know in Vanguard, the girls at that school are not given in my opinion, the respect that they deserve. And they are not given a varsity letter. They're not treated the same way. And they're at every single game my son is at. They are there. They are there before. They are practicing. They're at every single game. They're doing, I think, everything they can do to support the team. And I've seen a lot of different counties where they have them at the awards banquet with the boys. And those girls are just as important to the spirit of that school and doing well in football as the boys are. They're treated the same way. MCYFL treats them the same way. And I just think it's a matter of we need to do what they do in the younger divisions, because they go where they make all-star cheerleaders in MCYFL, and they're doing, or their parents come to every single game to watch these girls cheer, and all of a sudden they're just like, they drop off the face of the earth and they're not treated the same.
right. Well, Superintendent, Mr. Tucker.
Yes, thank you, Chair Cummings. And Ms. Livengood is here in the audience. Ms. Slaughter, if you have a moment and could speak with Ms. Livengood and provide some more details of those schools, I'd certainly appreciate it, and I know the board would as well, so we could follow up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Chair?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes. Would you, to the extent you know, would you elaborate a little bit on how this follows into further education? Because scholarships I know are given out at my alma mater, and it would seem to me that it would be critical for them to be able to letter.
It is, and I agree. And there are opportunities given in college for partial scholarships for cheerleaders. But when they're applying to college, whether they want to cheer in college or not, when they're applying to college, having a varsity letter matters.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And if that's one of the things they have spent a lot of time in, it makes a difference when they apply to college. And I just think it needs to be the same across the board for boys and girls.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Chair, if I may, as a former sideline cheerleader, I absolutely agree that they put in a ton of work and deserve letter recognition and awards banquets and all of the things that I was afforded as a cheerleader many, many years ago. But Ms. Slaughter, I want to say thank you, because your bringing things like this to our attention are the way we get things done.
Yes.
And so this is the first, I'm sure I've heard of it, Chair Cummings, that not realizing that this was one of those things that is a discrepancy across the district, and we don't need that in our athletic programs in any schools. We need to ensure that we're treating everyone the same. So thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Slaughter. Ms.
My name is Gary B. White. I live at 9280 Southwest 96th Court Road, 34481. Good evening, folks. It's good to be here to speak before you again tonight. I represent Tea Party, 150 people that are watching the things that government does, that are God, Constitution, and country. If anybody's told you anything else, that's just not true. God, Constitution, and country. After reviewing, many of the times that before, I've asked you to please help me have you examine more carefully some things, and I hope this tonight will help that possibility. After reviewing the agenda items, we found ourselves asking what many of the items are trying to accomplish and what they're on the agenda for. We picked one item, C14-4, renew bid 3814 GM, pressure washing services. After reviewing this, we wondered what the contract even was for. Other than pressure washing, we found ourselves asking what's to be pressure washed, how many times, at what location. We reviewed the attachment and would not find any details on what work was being performed. Where is the statement of work? This has been determined by the school administration to be important enough to put on the agenda for the board to vote on, maybe discuss, and for the public to review that there are no details how $100,000 will be spent. Our question, while specific to this item, is applicable to the almost every other item on the agenda with monetary value. Where are the details? The attachments for this item do not bring any value to the discussion, and we would like to challenge any board member to tell us if they have reviewed this and understand what is being awarded in this contract. If these items are considered routine, then why are they even placed on the agenda? The items we, the public, consider important, such as school academic performance, school teacher hiring, or school bus driver staffing, issues never seem to make it on the agenda. These are issues critically important to the public and parents and to the education of our students. While these issues are difficult to discuss, they are items we want to see more of. As representatives of the Tea Party, God, country, and Constitution, we want to see the administration ensure that items placed on the agenda have documents relevant to explanations so what is on the agenda item. At very minimum, this should be something the school board should be insisting on to make your jobs easier. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Good evening, Joe Prohaska, Prohaska. A while ago, an opinion piece appeared in the Ocala Star Banner about a month ago by Stan Hansen, a longtime resident of Ocala and education supporter. And in it, he proposed the idea of turning over our school system to turn them all into charter schools. And that made me recall an example of that in my experience, which was in New Orleans. It was after Katrina, when the city had been devastated and a lot of the schools had been affected. And it was decided to rebuild the whole system on the basis of charters. And my charter organization was a part of that. And so I had some interest and awareness of it. My recollection of it was that they created a special rebuild district. They hired a very experienced school reformer, Paul Vallis, as I recall, and that it was very successful in getting substantially better results than they had been getting in New Orleans prior to the misfortune. So that's a very interesting idea. I haven't followed it closely for a couple years. I intend to dig into it a little bit more. But perhaps the wholesale turnover of a school system to a charter system isn't too likely, short of a hurricane, which we wouldn't hope for. But perhaps elements of it could be adopted, where strategically schools are created by various charter organizations out there who have good results, invited in to do that, and lessons could be learned. In my experience, that's one of the big benefits of charter schools, is that they have a little more latitude to try out new things, and those things can be learned from and then applied elsewhere. So I'm hoping that that might be considered, and that might be more discussed in the coming election season. Another topic I wanted to just briefly touch on in the context of charter schools is also early education. It seems to me that effective early education can only help. I believe the idea that there's a substantial word gap, shall we say, among students as they enter our public school systems, and that matters. Nonetheless, I believe there are existence proofs of school systems such as Washington, D.C., New Orleans, other places where that is dealt with. And it takes a lot of work, but with a lot of focus, it can be overcome. And I'm talking primarily about literacy, first and foremost. So I'm just hoping that in the next coming months that there'll be more discussion of charter schools, how they might be an element of the improvement that we're all interested in achieving here. On the agenda, I will certainly echo the previous speaker's comments. I have been trying to educate myself and pay attention more over the last several months, and oftentimes I'm not sure exactly what the agenda, why something is on the agenda. Maybe there could be published for the public, people who are interested in paying attention, what the criteria are for things being placed on the agenda and the various parts, the consent, and then with the presumption of discussion, even without being polled. And then also, again, speaking as just a member of the interested public, someone trying to pay attention to these proceedings, they could be a lot more efficient with just a little cleaner parliamentary procedure. I am a member of the National Association of Parliamentarians. I'm not the world's foremost authority on parliamentary procedure, but I can say that Robert Rule and Robert Rules in Brief is very exciting reading. And with it, there is something called general consent, which the chair could use, and just a lot of things require no motion, actually, such as approval of minutes. They've been circulated ahead of time, not to us, unfortunately, but to the board members. So if there are no changes, no corrections, the minutes stand approved. Yasta, done. So same thing can be done with adjourning. There being no more further business, we are adjourned, etc. I'll be happy to send some of these ideas to the board members in the next coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more, Ms. Martinez? Thank you. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C 7.1 through 18.1 with the exception of items D 19.1 and D 19.2 that have been placed under discussion, and items C 17.5, C 8.1, C 9.1, C 10.1, C 12.1, C 12.2, C 14.2, C 14.3, C 17.1, C 17.2, C 17.7, and C 18.1 that has been pulled and placed under discussion. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member King.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Campbell. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. May I have a motion to receive public input prior to board approval of 2021-2022 recommended instructional materials for adoption for 16 specified courses at a public hearing scheduled for today, March 22nd, 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Thor, seconded by Board Member King. All in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Superintendent.
Thank you, Chair Cummings, members of the board. This public hearing assures compliance with Board Policy 4.21 by providing an open notice public hearing to receive comments on recommended materials prior to the adoption. The vote on the adoption of the 2021-2022 instructional materials will be during a public hearing at the April 12, 2022 school board meeting.
Thank you. I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to provide input on the 2021-2022 recommended instructional materials for adoption? There being none. May I have a motion to approve the recommendation of renewal for bid 3820 GM Access Communication Equipment?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell,
Second.
seconded by Board Member Thor. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Passing unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the construction of a security fencing system at Osceola Middle and A Street Elementary School?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member King,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Campbell. Dr. Glover, I understand you pulled item C17.5. You wish to have further discussion?
Thank you, Chair Cummings, members of the board. I did pull this because we received information from this item from Osley Construction. They incorrectly submitted an item related to another school project, and we uploaded the current and correct item, and so we wanted to make sure to make that clear. That's why there was a change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So from my understanding, the only change on that was on page 2, where it moved from Bellevue Middle School to Osceola Middle School and A Street Elementary.
And what was the change? What was
Just a name change on page 2. Everything else was the exact same.
But could I hear what the change was?
That's what it was. There was a name change from. It had Bellevue Middle School on it, where it should have had Osceola Middle School and A Street Elementary.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair.
Ready to vote? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposers have the same sign. Pass unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the First Amendment to agreement with Cut Different Incorp.? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Thrower,
Second.
seconded by Board Member King. Mr. Brown, I understand you pulled item C8.1. You wish to have further discussion?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I did. And this was brought up during the discussions today, and it's I believe that in a business meeting like this, something this important must be on the actual agenda and talked about. The merits seem to be excellent. There seems to be some great results. The thing that I'd like to address is I have a real problem with racial issues. I just have a real problem with it. And the idea of this comes across that it is a racial, sort of a racial targeted thing. And I would like to see it become a non-racial targeted program, if you will. I believe that if we target a student as in need by race, it's just it's a non-starter for me. If you want to talk about Asians And then if you're an Asian, you might want to go over here and have this mentor who's an Asian mentor. It seems like there's a discrepancy that's being filled. So I think it would be, I'm not troubled with the money if in fact it's, the superintendent feels that this is the correct, we've ground down the money the way I like to grind it down in a business-like fashion to get the value. To have black students be targeted for this program by being black and mentors being black is a non-starter for me. I would just like to see, ask the superintendent, couldn't we just make this anyone? And not have it be a black situation, or a Chinese, or an Irish, or whatever in the world you want to do, but I just don't think anyone's deficient. So that's my opening remarks. I'm happy to discuss it further or dig deeper into it, but I got several calls on this, and say, what's going on? Is it the way I'm reading it? Is that the issue? So, while we want to educate, we want to do it right, we don't want to put a label on anyone. At least I don't, and I don't think anybody here does either.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. I hope the public reads this, how it's printed on our agenda. Nowhere does this say black students. This says for minority students. And minority student can be defined in many different ways. We do know that there are some deficiencies where minority students have not been able to get some of the same levels of resources, and this is an attempt to try to equal the playing field or level the playing field to help all kids be successful. I don't see this one as a racial, me personally, as a black male, I don't see this as a racial issue. I see this as an equity issue, trying to help some kids that may need a little bit more extra help be successful in academics in schools, and to be more, to have some positive people in their lives, positive people from their community. So I don't see this as a racial thing. I see this as equity thing for these kids. So that's my comment on it. That's all my comment on it. So.
Chair, the way I view this, and first of all, for context, this is for 30 students, 30 total students, 10 students from 2 middle schools each, and 10 students from an elementary school. So just for context, for those who may not be looking at the agenda, we're talking about 30 students who teachers are going to select to be paired with mentors and role models. And while it does say with minority men, I do believe this is also only for boys. So if we're going to be talking about a separation, I believe we're being responsive to needs of our students that have a need for increased role model and mentor support to enhance their educational experience. This is falling under our mental health and wellness department. I talked to Mr. McGowan about this today, actually, that they have extensive evaluation of the effectiveness of this program, and there is data to prove that it's working. And I want to ensure that this board is responsive to the needs of our students to help them succeed. If that includes having 10 students in a middle school that teachers identify could have additional support, additional assistance, additional caring role models and mentors to impact their GPA, behavioral data, attendance, that's a win-win for me. I understand that this does say minority men, but that's who's going to be working with these individuals. Now, whether or not those, and frankly, the reason that it says that they'll be working with minority men serving as these mentors is because that's who Cut Different is. It's a group of minority men that have formed a corporation called Cut Different. And so that's why this specifically says that participants will spend quality educational time with minority men. That's why it's written that way, because that's who this organization is. I don't have a problem with this because I understand the data backs up what is occurring actually through this program and how these students are being impacted. I'm not going to use the word equity. I'm going to use the word responsive. I believe that if we want to use another word, culturally responsive, we can, but I think it's just being responsive to the academic needs and behavioral needs of our students. And if that is enhanced through role models and mentors, especially on the secondary level, you all know I'm harping on that a lot lately. We have students in middle school and high school that are struggling significantly with academic data, with attendance data. And if we can pair students who are struggling in those areas with mentors and role models that will enhance their GPA, behavioral data, and attendance, I'm all for it.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments, board members? Ms. Thor.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'll weigh in on this one. I would start by saying that it would be appropriate for any board member to reach out to Jamie Gilmore Jr., who is the owner of this company. He's a graduate of North Marion High School, and he would be happy to share the details of his company and his company's philosophy. At first glance, we can assume anything, and so can anyone else. But when you take the time to have a conversation with the people that are doing the work, minds can be changed, perceptions can be changed, or they can stay the same. I'll also say that to me, fairness is not everyone gets the same. It's everyone gets what they need. I happen to need glasses. I happen to not need a weight loss program. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Marion.
Yes, well, and you know, I appreciate that because I drive toward results. I mean, that's what we're looking for. But I can't tolerate discrimination. Discriminating for, discriminating against. Yes, we do have to make choices in life. And yes, perhaps Asian Americans need special mentoring, let's say. I'm making the assumption that this is not Asian, that this is black. And I don't think we should target. Target means focus on. I don't think we should target. I think we should open it up. And anybody can run a company the way they want to run a company. I'm on a school board and I'm representing 70,000+ individuals. And I don't think there's a single one that wants to isolate out a minority. I don't think there is. So I'm not in favor of this the way it sits. If anyone can get in, then so be it. If we have a football team and everybody on it is Asian, that's fine with me, as long as everybody has a shot at going. If you're an Irish American, I want you to be able to get mentored. I'm sorry if it sounds a little odd, but that's just where I am on it. That may be too academic.
Chair, if I may, this and I appreciate your thoughts on this, Mr. Browning. I understand that because your lack of familiarity with this organization. However, this is one of a myriad of strategies and a myriad of opportunities that we have to bring under contract additional programs for mentorship. This specific one is led by a group of minority men. That's who they are. It's what the organization was founded on, essentially. I mean, if you met Mr. Gilmore, just like Ms. Thrower has said, you'd learn a whole lot more about it for 30 students. I can definitely guarantee that we can identify 30 students that could be benefited by increased GPAs, increased behavioral data, and increased attendance. We know that this program is proven. This is just one of a myriad of mentorship programs that we work with. And if there are others that want to apply to work with us, similarly the way Cut Different has done, I'm certain Mr. McGowan would welcome them. For female students, for students of, I don't know, socioeconomic levels of whatever that might be, whatever the issue is, the factor for me, again, is being responsive to students' needs, and this is plugging a hole and meeting a niche that we have a significant need in, being responsive to that need, and that's exactly what this organization has a history of doing and will continue to do should we approve this evening. So that, again, it's being responsive. This is one of a myriad of strategies that we have, and they just happen to be filling a small niche for 30 students. That's how I feel about it.
Superintendent, can anyone enroll in this? Is it open to other than specific racial categories?
Mr. Browning, I think the methodology says school personnel will help identify students for this program. So this is where we're looking for this. Our district is going, I'm sorry, Superintendent.
No, go ahead.
Where our district is going to look for students that need some help, that need some additional support.
Any student, any race.
Need some help, students that need some additional support. You keyed in on the word minority. I see minority in here, I think, one time, where it says, and interacting with positive minority role models. It did not say, and when I read this, does not say that this is just for minority students. I only see minority in this whole thing once, and it says that the people who are doing it are minority. And if you knew Mr. Gilmore, as Ms. Thorough said, he is a graduate of North Marion High School. He played football at Temple University, graduated, went on and got advanced degrees, and decided to do the thing that we always ask our people to do, to come home and contribute to this district that they were blessed to go through. And it sounds like we're penalizing him because he's a minority. That's what I'm hearing. Because there's minorities only here once, and it says, and interacting with positive minority role models. Does not say the students have to be the minority. It says school personnel will help identify students for the program.
Chair Cummings, may I
Yes, sir.
direct your attention, just so we have everybody's on the same page here, to Exhibit A, the contractor's scope of work, which is on the agenda as one of the attached documents. As to admissions criteria, I don't want anyone to misspeak or anyone to misunderstand what this is. We've got one of the things listed on here is that that the scope of work will include, that's under A1, and this is a contract which I approved for legal form. The scope of work will include meet with school personnel to identify students and schedule weekly meeting times for role model / mentor and student. The combination of mentoring, tutoring, and culturally relevant group guidance, which form the structure of the program, is designed to empower Black male youth for maximum academic and social success. 30 students will be served each week for 47 weeks. School personnel refer students for mentoring, and role model mentors meets with the student for 30 minutes or time allotted by school personnel per week. School-based empowerment program proposal is a psychoeducational empowerment experience for Black males in grades 4 through 8. It provides the opportunity for participants to spend quality educational time during the school day with Black men who serve as role models/mentors. The program stresses the development of the motivation and skills necessary for academic success, the development of positive and responsible social behavior, building a sense of connectedness, and the modeling of positive Black male images. This program seeks to reduce the number of students' discipline infractions, as well as improve students' attendance, self-confidence, engagement in academics, and sense of connectedness. And those were presented by Mr. McGowan's office as having, and we know it to be true, that those are areas in which Black male students are proportionately overrepresented. And a program like this is in response to that overrepresentation. So, but I didn't want to, I wanted us to be accurate with what the contractor's scope of work is, not just what the methodology statement is, because the methodology statement is a statement of district personnel giving a summary, and the methodology and scope of work.
I see that in there now. Okay, I stand corrected.
Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
If I may, thank you. And further to that, at one school in particular, we know that Oakcrest, while they do support that scope of work for the Black males, they also support additional students that are not minority students, to answer your question. Because that's based on need.
And that's the part that I knew about.
And if we can bring that up, if we could perhaps table this, fix the language right here, so that there is no implication that Black students are, or minority Black students are deficient. That is a non-starter for me. They do not need special care outside of any youth who perhaps need some mentoring, regardless of race. That's my whole point.
Any further comments?
Yes, I'm thinking about a couple of things. The first one is the Marjorie Stoneham Douglas High School Safety Act, which is a law in Florida, and it's policy and statute that this is related to.
Correct.
And so it's been made clear to us by the legislature that we have to do something to address needs of our students. And we do our best to welcome every single student that comes through our doors, regardless of what they look like, regardless of their background, and try to program for them accordingly. This brings the whole buzzword of SEL, social emotional learning, to mind, which a lot of folks don't realize is also state law. And we actually investigated that. I think that was when you were chair, Board Member King, and maybe you could just real quick explain why we are doing that.
The SEL
Yes.
program?
Might as well put it all out there.
Okay, because I'm like, SEL is, I mean.
Based on need, apparently.
Well, it's based on need, and it is a requirement, because a couple years ago, there was a program that was in Marion County Public Schools that was discovered, and that was Sanford Harmony. When it was discovered, I did approach the board and the superintendent at the time and questioned the whole SEL programs in our schools, and was it mandatory, and we learned that it is. So that's a little bit of background and why we do have to provide SEL programs.
And why we have to provide a variety of programs to meet students' needs. And I'll just play the advocate here. I don't like to say devil, so I'll just say the opposing viewpoint would be, well, we might as well get rid of PACE Center for Girls because that targets at-risk female youth.
And that's immediately what I thought of when this was brought up. The girls do have PACE, and we've always had discussion on wouldn't it be great if we had a program for our male students. And so to me, this is one program that has been presented to us, and there is a need for this, and I love the idea of our minority males having minority leaders lead them and show them. So that's where I stand on this.
And I say this, oftentimes we say we need support from the community. We need different things from the community to help support these students and support the teachers and the schools. This is a support. This is support that's coming forward. It does make a difference. Mr. Browning, I went to school in this district. Oftentimes the only African-American black male in a class, and I always wanted to see those folk in front of me or in the schools that looked like me, and I didn't. I ended up going to a black college because I wanted to see that. Sometimes you need to see sometimes you will aspire to be what you see. And if you never see those things, you may never get the opportunity to aspire to it. This is a positive. This is not a negative. This is a positive. This is a positive for our district. I applaud Mr. Gilmore and Cut Different, because what they're saying is that you have some kids that are not traditionally the same as everyone else, and they just need to see some people that are cut like them. That's the difference in this. And this is a win. This is a win-win for our district. I don't think a superintendent, her team, her staff would have been brought before us if they had not vetted it properly, if they had not went through and saw the results, the qualitative results of this, and saw that it would be a benefit for our students.
And I really appreciate all the discussion. It's still a non-starter for me to discriminate against, because, as Ms. Thrower said, looking at the opposite side, they're deficient. They need that. And I can't, no, but I mean the opposite. I'm not characterizing your speech. The
Thank you.
opposite.
That's what you're saying, not me.
No, right. It's the opposite position will be taken, not by the folks that are doing the mentoring. It's the rest of society that might say, oh, well, they even have to have a special program for those folks. That's where I have a problem, and it's just this board member who has a problem with it, and I really appreciate the conversation and the discussion, because I believe that's what a board meeting is for. Indeed. To have this discussion.
Indeed. Are we ready to vote?
Yes, let's just do it.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed have the same sign.
Aye.
We passes 4-1.
Say no on for the
We have the same sign.
Against. Yes.
Passes 4-1. May I have a motion to approve the agreement with Human X Ventures?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell. Need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Board Member Thrower. Mr. Browning, understand you pulled item C 9.1. You wish to have further discussion?
10.1, yes, thank you.
9.1.
9.1.
That's the agreement with Human X Ventures, Special Revenue Fund.
Stand by one moment. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Thank you. Yes, 9.1. Thank you. Yes, Chairman, thank you. All right, agreement with, this is a 60,000 plus contract to help support the selection of those we promote. Now, I'm all for being really, really sharp at how we promote folks, but nobody, in my estimation or in my experience, nobody knows how to support any better than our academic administrative personnel that are doing the promoting. I believe that is better spent hiring a teacher or just a stewardship. If we're going to spend $50,000, $60,000 on something that I think we have world-class individuals here that can do this work and on the payroll right now, and I don't believe we need to spend this. I think it's an extra little thing that's maybe off on the side. If we've got that kind of money, we don't need to raise additional taxes. We don't have to do the 1 mil or something like that. I believe that this $68,000 is sacred because it's somebody else's money. It's the community's money. And I would say that we're totally capable of deciding who we want to promote. That's my position on this. I've checked with a number of other folks too, and I would like to hear from the board on the subject. Thank you.
There being no further comments, ready to vote? Or do board members have any other comments, additional comments?
I'm ready to vote.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign.
No.
Passes 4-1. May I have a motion to approve the utilized Mohawk contract number 013020 MRL for the purchase of a flush mount lift rack at North Marion High School for the automotive program?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair, seconded by Board Member King. Mr. Browning, I understand you pulled this item.
Yes.
C10.1, you wish to have further discussion?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. Yes, quite exciting. This falls right into our push toward technical education for those that want to go that way. The governor and legislature, they've been out all week since the legislature closed, and the governor began signing. Might even be with him tomorrow on some of these things, that the funds that are coming forward. This is a big deal. This is $60,000 being spent to update the lifts. And why does it matter? Because we have an absolute duty to be current. And if you're teaching children, you're teaching students, you got to quit calling them children. If you're teaching students to be technically competent, they've got to be competent in what is really taking place, and that is, this is a flat, new, modern, flush mount lift rack that if you don't know how to operate off of this, you won't know how to operate with EVs and other equipment. This is an absolute home run. I am so elated to see when our students go out, they'll be operating with the latest and the greatest equipment, and they know how to lift something up that is a state-of-the-art. And it happens to come, we're meeting on the day that a brand new factory just opened for vehicles that will fit on this lift. And that is, it's an American company over in Germany. And they're about to open next week in Texas. Same thing, so our students will be able to, right off the bat, be competent in this deal. So I'm 100% in favor of this, and it falls right where the legislature was talking and the governor as they kick the money down toward us. So that's a home run for me.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I want to thank you for pulling this one, because this gives me an opportunity to say something positive as well about this one. When you look at this, the funding, part of the funding source for this comes from referendum. So this is Marion County's taxpayers' money going to good use. So this is why this is what referendum money is being used for, because people often say, well, what is it being done? This is it, live and in color. So thank you, Mr. Browning, for pulling that one. This is just another plus for referendum. So thank you for doing that. All in favor for this signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passes unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the budget resolution number 6, February 2022 budget amendments?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell.
Second.
Seconded by Board Member Browning. Mr. Browning, I understand you pulled item C 12.1. You wish to have further discussion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Wow, talk about a business meeting, and this is business. This is budget, and I had a number of conversations today on this subject, and everybody needs to get warmed up and up to speed on budgets and how to read them and exactly what they say. When we're heading into our budget time, our approval of the annual budget, and it just totally matters. And we've got to learn how to understand these things. I had a number of people that they just need an education, and I think we do too. I've had at the university level accounting, finance, and I'm going to read a couple of things here. We've got to get sharp on this. To align the budget, general fund operating, to align the budget with the total cost of insurance, property, casualty, these insurance items, to align the budget with planned usage, to align the budget with planned usage on music and art. We really need to get sharp on this, and everybody's got to be able to get on a page. I would like to see, I'm taking this opportunity, say, can we get a citizens committee? Can we encourage, can we bring forth folks to understand these budget items? And I think we can do it. I think we can do it. Even if they haven't had graduate courses or undergraduate courses on finance and on accounting. I'm in favor of this. It's very, very complicated. It's big numbers. And if we all start, and we start, and on the next item, I'll talk about it a little deeper on a monthly basis. If we do that, I believe we're going to be a healthier, wealthier community. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Mr. Browning, you've taken a wonderful opportunity here, and I actually was going to bring this up in my board comments in just a bit. But because we're talking budget and we're talking finance and we're talking the complications of understanding school board finance, I would like to take this opportunity. You know, sometimes there comes times when we would love to just be able to pick up the phone and call a fellow board member. And today actually was one of those days because we received the Florida School Board Association information on the finance forum that's coming up the end of April. And I know that I learned so much from my 2-day training. Actually, I went to 4 days because they had a finance forum and then they changed it to Finance Forum 2.0. And I actually went to both of them because school district financing through the legislature, the FEFP that was created by the legislature, and the complicated requirements that school districts have to go through for finance purposes, including how the budget is approved, how it is presented, how it is published, and how you can only do that at a certain time in a certain time frame, and then everything that happens after that budget has to be done through these amendments and reallocations and all throughout the entire year. All of those things, including how school boards are funded, what we can ask for and what we can't ask for, including referendum and sales tax and what grants look like, and all of the different things that statute says that school boards, how we are funded, how school districts are funded, all through the legislature again, is all a part of the Florida School Board Association Finance Forum. And I wanted to pick up the phone today and say, Mr. Browning, I think it'd be great if you attended the finance forum that's coming up in April. I learned so much. However, I couldn't do that today because if he attended those 2 days of training and also had a hotel room, it would exceed the $500 that we would have to talk about it and actually vote to approve it in a public meeting. So we have to talk about it publicly. I couldn't pick up the phone and call you. And again, the sunshine, sometimes it really does bite us whenever we're wanting to just have a conversation. But I would recommend, and this, again, is something we would have to vote on if you wanted to have a hotel room. If you didn't, it wouldn't be 500, but I don't know. It's in Howey in the Hills. It's coming up at the end of April. I learned so much about what all Florida School Board funding and FEFP and all of that. I highly recommend it for anybody who is on the school board. Unfortunately, this is your first opportunity because they have them in April, and I believe you were appointed after that. So this is the first opportunity to actually have that opportunity to learn through that professional development. And I believe it would be a huge benefit, and I recommend it for any future school board member, any current school board member. I think we've all been, the four of us have been, probably more than once too, like me. But it really helped me have that education that I needed. And it's an open forum. You ask questions. You are with fellow school board members from around the state, and you get all your questions answered by CFOs from other districts and those that participate. It's just a wonderful opportunity. So I'm off my soapbox now. I was going to share that during my board comments because, again, it was one of those things I'd love to pick up the phone and say. I learned so much about, and it is complicated, and the reason we have to do these budget amendments every month is because of the way the legislature has set up school district budgeting, and the way we have to approve our budget, when we approve it, and then how things change month to month to month. Based on how money comes in and based on how money goes out and contracts approvals and all of that. And so all of these reallocations, while it says we're reallocating funds to align with the budget, that's because of how the budget is approved and when it is approved, and then when money comes in and how things come in after that. And it has to be, because we keep it current. So that's what we're doing every month, is ensuring that our budget, that is a fluid document once we approve it as far as how we have to reallocate funds. That's why we have to do this on a monthly basis. So I hope that helps. I don't know if it does, but I strongly would recommend the Finance Forum for FSBA. It will answer so many questions that I know have been coming up.
Yes, it does. May I, Chair? Yes. Sure. It does help, and that is the whole idea of a business meeting by the school board, and when we can talk. And you just did, which proves my point. That's exactly what we have to hear, because if you'd have been on the phone, the folks would not have heard it. And they need the education. Right. Really, they need the education. You know, I think I can fly planes upside down and from here to Chicago, and I also think I could probably teach the course down there. I would just hire somebody that was really good in regulation. You know, I despise regulation. I love to squish it down to, like, the Constitution's that thick, our policy manual's that thick. So you know.
School board laws. Yeah. So thank you so much, because I learned from you speaking at a public meeting. That is perfect. And that's what the people need, in my estimation. It's just this school board member's opinion. So, wow, thank you. And this is not tough stuff. A little bit of accounting? Are you kidding me? Just because the numbers are big, no big deal, really? I'm sorry.
I mean, it isn't. I don't think it's tough.
I'm going to disagree. It
Okay.
definitely is accounting, it's finance, it's all of those things. But I assure you that it takes very specialized individuals to understand all of the ins and outs of the FEFP, and I do believe that if you attend, and I'm encouraging you to do so, and we as a board would have to approve that, I'm sure, but I'm certainly encouraging you to do so, and if you attend, I do believe you'll have a different respect and a different perspective on what actually this is. It's not basic accounting at all. It's much, much more complicated, and that's the legislature that has done that. We're grateful to the legislature. I'll take this time to say we're grateful to the legislature that they are increasing our base student allocation, and we are receiving some different calculations that we're grateful for some of those things. There are some things that change that aren't going to help us too, but I mean, that's kind of the way it happens every legislative cycle. But the platform that the Florida School Board Association took forth and the conversations that they had have helped a lot of some of that have come out of this legislative session. So we're grateful for all that they do for us. But I would please implore you to consider attending, because it definitely will will increase a respect and a whole new perspective on what this actually is.
Thank you. And I take your suggestion to heart. I think it's probably appropriate to have a favorite like that. Associations, to me, are simply associations. These are other school board members, and that's how they qualify and what have you. It's well and good. I'm focused more on the budget here. And we do have the PhD level ability to handle budgets. I mean, we do have that ability. So I would never look outside when we certainly have the talent inside. But that's just a personal opinion, and I get that. No, I tend to think we spend a lot of money on external organizations that, quite honestly, I think they become a little bit political, and I think they become a kind of a waste of time. Like, I don't know, I think that particular group you're talking about is, we spend maybe $100,000 a year. I don't know if we get that. I don't feel we do. I believe we've got the horsepower here in this county to teach them. So that's just a personal opinion. I think we're the cat's meow when it comes to a solid, conservative, organized, educated, got the talent. We could get it done. We're really leaders, I believe. And so I don't need Miami, for instance, the Big East, in those organizations. I don't need them to explain to Central Florida how to operate a school district. I mean, I just don't. And pay them too. They might pay us, and we could educate them. So I think maybe they could dial in and,
Last thing
it's
I'll
just
say, when it comes to the FEFP, that's black and white numbers. End of story. Numbers are numbers. Law is law. And that doesn't have a political preference one way or the other. So again, the Finance Forum is very specific to Florida school finance. And I just highly recommend it, regardless of how you feel about the association that's presenting the professional development. Yeah. The professional development is what it is. Yeah, and it is, I highly recommend it. Again, anybody who's a future school board member, a current school board member, it explains so much as to what school districts have to be governed by when it comes to finance and budgeting.
I got it. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you for that spirited discussion from both back and forth. Those calculations are, I think many of us have had college level accounting and financing and different things. However, when you get in that setting and you see those calculations and those compressions, you understand that it's beyond just our understanding. So I thank you, Ms. Campbell, for bringing that out. Are we ready for questions? Are we ready for vote?
If I can add, Mr. Browning, I can also get anyone on this board who would be interested. CLE information that I took. I have degrees in education and law, and certainly I'm familiar with educational finance. But from periodically, even among school lawyers and school attorneys, we host at conferences things for us to learn more regarding specifically that area, because it is complex. So as a sort of starter kit, I'd be happy to give any board member some continuing legal education materials that might supplement some of what you're talking about in case you may decide to further look into it for other training as well.
I love that. That's incredible. And that's the purpose, really, I think, of a business meeting like this. Thank you.
Ms. Storr.
Just a quick question. It's clarification related. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. When it comes to the Florida School Board Association, how do we get informed of what's going on and different conferences and things that they have coming up? And based on my understanding, it's voluntary, whatever we choose to go to or not. But I'm a little bit concerned. I don't want the community to be confused unless we discuss that in the sunshine at a meeting, that each of us as individuals can't find out that information. The way I normally get it is I'll get an invite in my email about upcoming Florida School Board Association conferences and trainings and finance forums and things like that, and then I make my own determination whether or not I feel like it's appropriate for me to go. Am I right?
You're absolutely correct. We get
Okay.
email concerning finance forums,
We don't have to rely on each other for that information.
summer conference, and other things.
No, it's helpful.
don't.
It's helpful. It's just, it's
I just
kind
wanted
and
to make
just and decent and fair, you know, that's fine.
I just wanted to make an encouragement to express the validity to the finance forum program that's coming up, and I knew that I couldn't have that conversation with a fellow board member because it was going to cost more than our $500 allotment. So that's why I brought it up today.
And for the record, so everybody knows, none of us are forced to participate in the Florida School Boards Association classes or any of the courses that they offer. We do know in the past board, one of the board members did not choose Florida School Boards Association. They chose another association. So any of us could choose whichever one we want to choose or not be involved in any of them. But because I don't want anybody to think out there in the public that we are forcing or that someone has forced Florida School Boards Association on us. It's a choice. Each board member has that opportunity to choose. Mr. Orr?
Yes, thank you for clarifying that, Chair, because last I checked, it is America, and we've had school board members that have not participated and then also participated in our master board training and things that they felt were of value. So I just want to make sure that I appreciate you bringing it forward, Vice Chair Campbell, as far as the value of the finance forum. I couldn't agree more, but I felt like we were getting off in the weeds a little bit about how the communication is conveyed to us about our choices and options that we have of what to and what not to participate in. So that was my only point in asking for some clarification and definition to this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair. Just for clarification on that is, it's my understanding, I could be wrong on this, but I'm under the impression that each of us decides to join and then a multi-$1,000 membership is brought forward, is paid by the school district. That's my understanding. And
or you have the option of not participating in the Florida School Boards Association or
pay for it yourself, for example.
Pay for it yourself,
Yeah.
or there may be another association that you want to choose. Again, in the past, we've had a school board member that chose to not participate in Florida School Boards Association activities and went to another one that was, and they chose to pay their own, but if they wanted the board to pay for it, that's something that's.
And I wasn't pushing on that at all. I was more talking about the budget. We need to be educated on the budget. So, but we did have a nice conversation there, and I think it helps everybody understand that everyone has to work hard on budgets. You just have to. I don't care how many PhDs you got. You got to pay attention. Some are better at it than others. But that's all I really, I think I've made my point on the thing.
Are you ready to vote?
I am.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passes unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the monthly financial report, January 2022?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell, seconded by Board Member King. Mr. Brown, I understand you pulled item C 12.2. You wish to have further discussion?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. I think we covered it nicely on the last item. The key here is that it takes that special expertise we're talking about, and I would like to see, if we could, put a focus on, when we're going toward budget like this, put a focus on this monthly education. I mean, I would like to see these be given 5 minutes, let's just say, as we move toward our budget exercise for the year. Getting phone calls in the middle of the meeting. Let's see. let's see, I get my train of thought back here. So on a monthly basis, perhaps, we could use this as it's brought forward monthly, and we're approving it, not to put it in a bulk consent situation, but to bring it forward so that we could perhaps become enlightened and educated, because this has been very beneficial to me, because otherwise I feel quite isolated with some of these items. You want to talk about them, and Ms. Campbell is correct, you cannot do it outside. So let's do it inside, and let's just bring them up. That was why I want to do this. I'm in favor of it. I like the fact that we have some very, very talented people to bring things forward on a monthly basis, and we actually win awards. So if it's that sharp, let's just nail it. From an educational point of view, once a month, we're an educational organization. Let's just bring these things up if we can. I'd like the superintendent to leave these up on the agenda and don't put them down in consent, because they just get wasted. Then we don't get the value of this each month. And this is some pretty serious stuff. So, $350 million, we figure out where we are in the month, that type of thing is pretty exciting. And I think people will be able to participate more because if we bring these up, we can do it in a very spirited, fast way. If speed is your master, we can do it fast, we can do it slow, we can do it in between, but we get educated toward the budget, and the people would be able to come along. That's all I have for this.
Thank you.
Sir.
Ready to vote? All in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Pass unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the RFP 3909RC and resulting agreement for district internet services?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell.
I'll second.
Seconded by Board Member Bryan. Mr. Bryan, I understand you pulled item C 14.2. Wish to have further discussion?
Yes, sir. Okay, so this is a big deal. And again, this should be brought out in a business meeting on the floor, and I would like to see this type of thing, especially as we go forward. We are now under the satellite broadcast system that will reduce these cost numbers, like from $50,000 on 10 gigabytes per second to $71,000 for 30 gigabytes per second. We're talking numbers that are in the neighborhood, and I don't want to overstate this because volume matters, but $10,000 to $20,000 for bandwidths and gigabytes per second in the 180 range. We'll be able to put put this service, this data, anywhere we want to for very, very small numbers. I'm just going to make up a number right here, like 10%, 15, 20% of this number with 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 times the bandwidth, the gigabytes per second. And so are we looking at that? That's why I want to talk, and I'd like to hear. We've got to be looking at this. We sit on the 30th parallel. We're at 29.999 Ocala, and there we are, and that's what is live now. So it's available, and boom, we can just light this candle. So it's something that I'm hoping we're looking at it. I didn't see it in any of it, and I would like to see this. This is a 5-year plan, so I hope we're all over this. And superintendent perhaps knows, but this is, satellites are up there. We launched them within 50 or 60 miles of here, and we're main players in this science, and this is the way it's going forward. It is anything like some of these numbers are old hat. And I get it, maybe we go another 6 months with it or something, but we've got to get the extra bandwidth. We could triple what we're doing for this kind of money and then cut the money in half, or by 75%. So that was why I brought that forward. I thought it was incredibly timely, considering the fact that these launches are being made weekly, and we watch them. I don't know, you all probably watch them too, as they go up from Cape Canaveral. And we're saving the rockets. They're landing on their tail, and we're saving money that way. So, all right.
Thank you, Mr.
That's it.
You're right that I guess technology is going forward, and when I looked at this and we talked about this in the agenda review, I looked at the numbers and then I missed it. I was reading too fast and I had to go back and read it again. This allows us a huge discount. This program allows us a huge discount because it tells us that we get an E-rate reimbursement of 90%. So even though those numbers look a little skewed or big, we get a 90% reimbursement rate, which is a program that we qualify and will continue to qualify to get that E-rate. So I understand what you're saying as far as we advance, there may be some other technology that allows us to get faster and faster and faster as we go along. But for the money, we're getting it. This is excellent for the money that we're paying with the 90% reimbursement rates. So thank you. Are we ready to vote?
Yes, sir.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign. Passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the renew bid 3803 GM paint, labor, doors, side lights, and railings? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Browning,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Campbell. Mr. Browning, I understand. Pull item C 14.3. We wish to have further discussion.
Yes, thank you. I pulled this because we need full transparency, and John Browning did go to the same school my grandpa did and invented the Browning automatic, but I am no relation to John Browning, nor is it any part of Browning Forms and Systems or Browning Communications. So I bring that forward, let everybody know. This man, I do not know, I do not own any part of the company, nor the company itself. So I just thought that was, I got a couple of questions on it. Okay, Browning, so you're like doing business with yourself here. And I said, no, sir, no, ma'am. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Ready to vote? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed have the same sign. Passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the bathroom and plumbing upgrades at Howard Academy, change order number 1, work authorization number 16, project number 21-114. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell, seconded by Board Member King. Mr. Bryan, I understand you pull item C 17.1. You wish to have further discussion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a chance to celebrate. We didn't spend the money we could have spent. But $20,000 doesn't sound like much, but it would go a long way. And the second point, I really don't care for, and I'd like it for us to look into these guaranteed maximum price bids, because they tend to put a number out there that is going to easily be an umbrella big enough to handle things. And then when we do the construction, often it's a cost plus. And on a cost plus basis, if you've done it, and I think most everybody here has been involved on a cost plus, there's no incentive to drive the price down in order to get the bid. And so just the fact that there's extra money left over, we need to celebrate, yeah, there's extra money coming back to us that they could have spent. Perhaps it got to the point where they tried to spend all they could, and they just couldn't spend any more than that. I would rather take the positive side and say everybody was on their game and they saved us $20,000. So I don't like to see that go into a consent because anytime we save money, I think it needs to be spoken of. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mr. Browning. Ready to vote? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign, passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve construction of a security fencing system at Dunella Elementary School, project number 22-111.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Browning,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Campbell. Mr. Browning, I understand you pulled item C 17.2. We shall have
Yes.
further discussion.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Okay. We get the money to build these fences. I would like to see more discussion, especially in our workshops, to see what we're actually doing, because there's good fences and there's bad fences. I'm going to use the good fence example over at Bellevue Middle.
Browning,
Yes, sir.
can you not put that out there?
What's that?
You just said there's good fences, there are bad fences. Can you just keep that general?
I believe what the chair is referring to is that whenever we speak regarding anything that is school safety or security issues, there's a reason why the Florida legislature allows us to do much of that in the shade, outside the sunshine. And that's because we would not want to inadvertently identify any particular strength or weakness. Now, if you're qualifying it with good and bad fences in the sense of whether they're a playground fence or they're a big steel, nasty, ugly fence, that's a different matter. But just so you're aware, just to keep that in the back of your mind as you...
All right, thank you, yes. I'm referring to architecture here. And the idea of, let's take Bellevue Middle, the architectural use of these fences is brilliant. And we get to use buildings as fences. And to me, that's money. And it's highly secure. I have another, and that is Lake Weir High. Beautiful, brilliant use of fences, and this is architecturally. And for any purpose, you would have a fence up, let me just say that. So there's nothing for us to be afraid of here, in a sense. I do not. I despise the look. I sat on the Juvenile Justice Board. I've been involved over at our juvenile facilities here over at the Sheriff's Office on a number of different levels. And we do not want our schools architecturally to look like a juvenile detention facility. And we can architecturally address that, and that's something that I would like to see work done at workshops on that subject. I mean, why not? If we're going to do them, we're going to build them, we're going to spend the money. If there's better ways and we can really business up on this, I'd like to do it. We've got $500,000 on Dunellen, $500,000 on Lake Weir Middle. We're only down to far less than half of that for another. I'd like to know why and kind of bang that out on a regular basis when we're doing this, because this is an ongoing, architecture is an ongoing subject. So that's my reason for bringing it up. I'm in favor of security. I'm in favor of the fence. I want, though, them to be, let's say, instead of good and bad, let's say effective and architecturally pleasing, because that's what we try to build. Thank you, Chair.
So on this particular one, I will admit I did not go and pull the drawings with Mr. Knight and Mr. McFadden to see what they're doing from an architectural standpoint. But I did when we voted on the Osceola Middle School and 8th Street Elementary. And I went to Mr. Knight's office with Mr. McFadden. And I offer any other board member, if you want to do the same, I'm sure they'll oblige you. And we looked at the drawings, and we looked at how they are using the buildings, and I'm certain that our staff works extensively to ensure They don't want to put up any more fencing than they have to because that is costing us money. So every time they can have a fence attached to a building, they're going to do it. And I saw that as a witness looking at the drawings for Osceola and 8th Street. I'm excited about the way they're using those buildings in that way. Again, I'm going to apologize for not actually looking at the drawings for Dunellen Elementary, but because I had such a positive experience when I looked at the ones for Osceola and 8th Street, I knew that our staff had taken into consideration what needed to be done for this, and I'm completely fine with what they've put forth.
Chair?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Thora.
Yes, thank you. I seem to remember having this very conversation several times previously. Does anyone else, any other board members remember? I believe that we were in total agreement that having school security fenced is a bummer to be at that point in time. But, so therefore it meant everything to all of us to have it be aesthetically pleasing. So I just want to make sure that that my memory was serving me and that we already did discuss this and we are all in full agreement that because the fencing is required, we certainly want to do all we can to make the campus still look inviting. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I also know, like Mr. Knight, he was very, I don't know what the right word is, but very careful in selecting the materials that were used because it would be easy to put a chain link fence all the way around those schools, and then it does look like, in barbed wire, it does look like a prison, but he doesn't want that. And
none of us do.
I mean, so I think he's doing the best as he can with the buildings and the fencing and everything, so.
And thank you both ladies, all of you for your comments. And this helps us be in compliance with state law because we have to do that fencing. And I haven't passed by one of the schools, and it looks like I've been in prison more than any of you. More than any of you, so I know what the prison looks like from the inside and the outside.
Mayor Cummings, I keep telling you, you got to stop saying that to people.
So
there's context there that's lacking.
Yeah. So
Too much information.
So it definitely, none of our schools look like a prison or resemble a prison. So, are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign, passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the replacement of 3 air handlers associated with the cafeteria at Bellevue Santos Elementary School, change order number 1, work authorization number 13, project number 20-100. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Thrower, seconded by Board Member King. Mr. Brown, I understand you pulled item 17.7.
Yes, and this is again, a celebration. We saved money. We saved $34,000, and I think that $34,000 is enough for me to take a moment and recognize it. Again, I'm not a big fan of that maximum guaranteed bid program, but I've stated that, and I think we can tighten that up. I've got a long-term plan on some of this, and you know, the more we discuss it, the better off we are. On this one, we have to start on these workshops. We have to start looking at ionic air safety. We have to start doing it. We have a responsibility when we're closing up areas, and we have air handlers, we have air systems. We've got to address it. It's addressed by everyone in the industry, and it's just got to be. So for me, I bring it up, one, to celebrate. This should not be in a consent agreement just to go blowing on through because we saved $35,000. And number 2, we should have been talking on this one about ionic pure air safety. It's what we've got to do it. It's modern. It's the way. And yeah, I know we don't have 40 years of experience with success of opening windows, but this is better. It's the way ORs, it's the way most people that want to have clean, pure air operate. So I say, let's delve into it and let's get into it really deep because we're spending a lot of money here. on these contracts, close to $1 million in this particular one. I'm in favor of what we're doing. We're filtering the air. It's air conditioning, but I want air safety, ionic air safety considered and handled, and we just got to get into the 21st century. So that's my comments. That's why I brought it up, and it's critically important to everybody's health.
Thank you, Board Member Brownings. Any further questions? Ms. Hoare?
Yes, again, I just want to make sure I'm clear. We had an extensive workshop on all of the pros and cons and pluses and minuses. I love the idea of innovation and new ways of doing things that are cost-effective and dependable, and our almost 45,000 students coming in and out of schools, and our teachers and staff every single day are going to be as healthy and protected as possible. I think it's important for the community to also be reminded that this is something that, unless I'm forgetting, that we workshopped extensively and had meetings with the folks that make the recommendations for these different units. And I rely on them. I do my own research, certainly, but I am not an HVAC expert. And it sounds like you are, Board Member Browning, so your input is critically important. But I just want to make sure that as we go through these things, that the community also continues to be kept up to speed, that this is something that we continue to look at, that we've workshopped extensively, and will continue to keep our eye on. That's my expectation anyway. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes, it was last September, and to everyone's credit, on staff, they did look into it, and what they came back with was, we're going with the 40-year verifiable CDC systems, and that to me is it can be a baseline. It can be a start. If you've done something for 40 years and we're in a technologically different world today, then ionization of, especially coming through this health crisis, ionization needs to be looked at on a regular basis, and if they're not quite up to speed on it, they can get to some of these experts that they're looking around for, because this is a national thing. This is not and it's OR, ER, dentists, anybody where there's an issue, and when we put a lot of people in a small room, it's an issue. So it's something that just has to continue to be workshopped. One person, feeling comfortable with a CDC guideline of 40 years old, it just isn't, it's a baseline, I'll give you that, but it's not where we're going. If we're spending $1 million multiple times along the way, I want to see these things at least considered and reported on, and more than just a conversation. I would like to see some real reports as to, they're going to have to defend their position. At least for this board member, they will.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir.
I need to speak for that board, that staff member. That staff member did their research, and they provided their information and provided this board with that information. And I'm positive and confident that that staff member and this board made the best decision at that time. I think there may have been some disgruntled feelings because maybe that was Mr. Browning, don't you sell those, I believe, the ionized things or something at Fort?
I don't sell them, no.
You're involved in that somehow.
I don't sell them, I just have a lot of experience. I tend to buy, I historically have purchased a lot of them. It's a pretty standard thing today. And so, it's a pretty easy call. It's not a big deal if you're putting in new or you're updating HVAC systems, and in a nutshell, people need to know about it. If you're sending your children there, we need the best. And what it does when you ionize something, it becomes electrically attractive, say, to the filter. So if you're...
Is it like peroxide that you're talking about?
No, ma'am.
It's not going to affect children with asthma and anything. There's not enough studies on that, I don't believe.
No, I'll just say this. So you've got you got an atom, you've got on the outer valence, like your basic chemistry, you've got an electron going around. Well, you can take away an electron, and that's called an ionic atom at that point. It's given one up, and it's a positive, and it happens to be a negative charge. Okay, so it's going to float out there, and if you're a virus, H2O is what you're hooking in, that's in the atmosphere, you're going to get this on you. And when you get it on you, now you're negative, and it's like rubbing your feet on the carpet in a hotel, and your hair all of a sudden goes over, or you get a spark if you touch a doorknob. You're ionized, and so if you're this virus, you stick to a filter, you can't get away. Forget the fact that you're small, and you can just blow through it like a tennis ball going through a barbed wire fence. Virus is small. But once they get ionized, bang, they're stuck. And when you change the filter, it's a better way to go. It's a modern way to go. And it's the kind of thing we can just talk about it. It's not pushing it on anyone. It's just talking about it. I keep seeing these come up one after another without it being addressed. And so it's not a closed issue at all for me. It's like, well, when are they going to get it going?
Well,
Talk about it.
Keep bringing it up, and I'm just saying that the staff member has, and their team have provided us with the information, the best information, and as a board, we have decided that. And I mean, obviously, you disagree with that, but I'm just
Right, this board member has an opinion, and I'm just advancing it.
So I'm
This
just
was in
asking that
consent,
you please
and
be
I'm bringing it
careful
up.
when you speak to the staff. Yeah, I'm just asking that you please be careful when you make accusations toward our staff.
No accusation, no ma'am. I am not accusing anyone of anything. What I'm saying is, when we're spending money for a system, I would like to see we're spending $500,000 or whatever, some pretty good size dollars, that we look at these things, and that's a very important point you bring up. You must, in business, I don't care if you're in Ford Motor Company board, you must bring forward your best business ideas, and you are never attacking anyone. You are never hostile toward anyone. You are looking at a systemic issue, and you're making your best judgment, and that's the way that is. I am not attacking anyone, and I will not ever stand by and be told that I am attacking someone when I'm attacking a virus or any pollutant in the air. That's what I'm attacking. And I'm attacking a business system that routinely comes up. So look, nobody is vested in this at all. They're doing the best job they can. And the reason they listen to the board is because perhaps the board has something to say to them that might be their boss. And so, if we're the superintendent's boss, I'm going to tell the superintendent what I know about this and what my judgment call is. I'm not attacking the superintendent when I give my opinions on a business issue that comes before this board. Thank you.
Are you ready? Go ahead, Ms. Starr.
Yes, to bring this somewhat to closure, it would appear to me that we need to have the confidence that the team that's tasked with air handlers continues to do the research, continues to make comparisons for school settings in Florida, in various buildings, of various ages, of various designs, and continue to bring to us, just like our technology, which is always fast evolving, because this is a proactive board. This board wants to hear it. We go deep. I don't know that I'm hearing any opposite points of view, really. It's a matter of the most important thing is to make sure that we are staying current. And now that it's out there and it's said, just like it was out there and it was said 4 times ago, it remains where it stays. So that's what I have to say about all of this. And I count on our teams to come to us and say, hey, this really worked well before, but now they've got it down. It's going to work for our applications. Might not work for Fessenden because that building was built however many 100 years ago, but for some of our newer buildings, this will be just fine. And so It's all fluid.
I agree.
Thanks, that's all I got.
Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the agreement with Funds for Learning LLC?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, I understand you pulled item C18.1. You wish to have further discussion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is an item that $50,000 doesn't sound like a whole lot of money, but to me it's a lot of money because it's taxpayer money, especially if it's somebody else's money. I got to be careful. And we're spending it for services that I believe we have a handle on in-house. I believe that in this county and in this district, under our employee, we can keep up with federal rules. We have legal, we have, there's a lot of ways to Ms. Campbell's idea about the Florida School Board Association, for example. We got everybody is doing the same thing, and that is if you're dealing with a company, you don't have to pay somebody $50,000. Make sure they're up and in compliance with regulations, and so that I get it. We want to be careful. We want to be on our game, but I believe we can get in compliance. I believe we could use this money for a teacher, for example. We don't have too much money. We're looking for money, and I'm just saying, wow. I'm not in favor of paying an expert to make sure that I'm keeping up with federal rules and regulations. I think that that's such a done deal that we just do it. And if there's something in specific we're missing, we ask the attorney. He's on board. We ask the superintendent. She's a professional. We've got other PhD level people that are available. So I'd like to see this type of thing drop away, and I'd like to rely on our own competency in-house to review and be sure that we're compliant with, or somebody that we're doing business with is compliant with regulation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any further comments? All ready to vote? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same sign, passed unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donation to have a total value of $19,980.20. $1,000 to Bellevue High School from Dick's Sporting Goods, $1,000 to East Marion Elementary School from Winn-Dixie, $1,500 to Hillcrest Public School from DeLuca Toyota, $11,664 to North Marion High School from Sunshine State Fundraising, $2,491.20 to Westport High School from the Pack Football Club and Corp., $2,325 to Westport High School from Iron Horse Production LLC. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell,
Second.
seconded by Board Member Thor. Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed have the same sign, pass unanimous. Mr. Browning, would you tell them thank you for these donations?
Say it again.
You tell them thank you for the donations.
You would like me to say thank you?
I got it.
Tell them thank you? Yes, all right, I'd be glad to. I'm sorry, I did not pick up. You know, it's near and dear to my heart that we have these programs. You put a sign out, people can get involved. It's a little bit like selling advertising, but we have a community that kicks in. Kiwanis clubs, Lions clubs, different companies. It is very exciting to see people get vested in the educational process, and it goes beyond the idea of the donation itself. It goes to the point of getting, if you give money to something like that, you get very involved with that school. And I've been involved, like down at Stanton. That was, what a great situation. We've had so many people put so much money into some of those schools. And using that one, it's a huge, hearty thank you to all of these people that step forward, because not only do they make it better at the school, but they make themselves better, their own company better. They learn more about what we're doing as a district to educate children. So a hearty thank you to everyone that steps up, and anybody that's thinking about it, go ahead and step up, because it's well received and it's appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir.
The following special administrative briefing and work sessions are scheduled for March 29th, 2022 and March 30th, 2022 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the special work session is to discuss the Neola policy review. The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for April 7th, 2022 at 9 a.m. The purpose of this work session is to discuss the annual review of alternative learning programs, self-funded health plan 102, 2022 update, and 2023 funding projection. Summer School 2022 and Achieve 2026 Strategic Plan Update Goal 2. We're at the end. We're told almost at the end. Ms. Martinez-Lopez, you have anything tonight? Attorney Powers?
Just a reminder to the board regarding the upcoming festivities in honor of our Olympic athletes, and I'm sure each of the board members has been made aware of that, and probably you will have your own input for that, so I'll leave that to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Superintendent Guzzo.
Thank you, Chair Cummings, members of the board. I do need to first start with a correction. When I began the meeting, the approval of the agenda, I said March 8th. That was the notes we had. It is not March 8th. It is March 22nd this evening, so I want to make that correction.
Time flies when you're having fun.
And I was thinking as I read that didn't sound right. I know we were on spring break, but we're back. So I want to make that correction. Happy to have everyone back safely from spring break. And I do want to say that the Florida Department of Education has designated the month of March as Arts Education Month. So our schools are participating in many different ways. We've certainly kicked off our meeting tonight with celebrating student arts, not just what you see with paintings, but we also see it in music and theater and dance. So looking forward to seeing that in our schools this month. And thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Ms. King.
Yes. It is good to be back after a wonderful spring break, and I would like to take a moment to specifically thank Reddick Collier Elementary and the student that made this beautiful license plate with hearts on it and mosaic. It's just beautiful, so thank you. And also, I would like to bring something to y'all's attention. I had a commissioner from the county commission reach out to me a couple weeks ago as the town of Reddick and the commission are expressing that they would like to maybe have a playground out in Reddick, and they have some funds and grant money, and I believe the town of Reddick also has some money where they would like to place this park. There seems to be some interest in the land where the old gym was that's not being utilized at the moment. So I think if you guys would like to explore this option, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I guess I'm just trying to see if the board has any interest in having further conversation with the county commission and the town of Reddick to explore options for this playground. So, not sure what your thoughts are.
Personally, I think that's something that we should have the conversation with the town of Reddick. They should be able to say what they want in their community, and if we are able to help in some way, I would love to have the conversation. I don't know about you.
And I agree. I mean, I think that having the conversation is an important starting point, because obviously if the land is owned by the school district, then there becomes, do we swap the land? Like what, so there, it's a conversation starter, absolutely. I am all for a playground there on that, but how we make that work with all the legality of the land swapping and whatever would have to be done, I'm really interested in the conversation.
I'm not sure, just exploring. I'm not sure if it would be lease, swapping, but we do need to have that conversation. So I just want to make that clear, that it's not just swapping. There could be other ideas, but we do need to have that conversation on where we want to, whether or not we want to explore this with them.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I agree with the chair and vice chair. I'd love to hear more conversation. I'd like to hear it from Reddy, from the folks out there, because that's the picture. That's really what you want to hear, and it helps them focus, helps us focus, helps us know what to do. And maybe ideas come up, and we can be glad to have any commissioners show up and listen or follow on it. Have dual systems, and then we get to the point. Okay, then I would sure like to hear from Reddick first.
Mr. Orr.
Sounds good to me. I'm always open for conversation. Do it.
All right, so I will.
I guess we could. I guess Ms. King, you can kind of facilitate how we would move forward with that.
That would begin with our superintendent. She would have to give directives to her staff to explore that in facilities and see if we can move forward with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I expect to have a conversation soon, very soon.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said I expect we'll be having a conversation very soon.
Yes, we need to have that pretty soon. I know that I believe there's a letter of intent for the town and from the county commission that will need to go out by April. So we need to work on this sooner than later and not kick this can down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that is all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Ms. King.
Thank you.
I'd see you back. Ms. Thor. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I'm looking in one
Thank you,
direction.
No, before we leave that, that's okay. I know, sorry, Chair, if I may. Because of the timeliness, I'm looking at the calendar to bring something back to the board. And I know this is pretty soon. April 7th is a work session. Would that timing work appropriately with what's needed?
I believe it would work for us. I know the county commission, they already, had a meeting last week to approve the grants or the funds that they're working on. Not necessarily, we haven't had any conversation or approval. So I think at this point, we need to decide and give them some type of direction.
So there's some
That makes
funds
sense.
available?
So there are some funds that
Funds,
are
but not the
available,
location?
and there's a time, and there's a deadline and a time. Yes, so there is some urgency on this matter.
April 7th is the soonest, correct?
But is the subject to present it so we know what we're talking about? Like, because I don't have a clue at this point what we're talking about, other than the word playground.
Right, so that is my question. We would be providing information that we gather and presenting some options to the board to consider. Do note, though, that it's a work session, so there wouldn't be an opportunity for a vote. So Attorney Powers, I'll look to you for that, but I just know this is an issue of timeliness that's just been brought up.
Right, it would need to be discussed rather thoroughly at a work session before we went to vote regarding those, because things may also additionally come up at the work session that necessitate me doing a little further legal review. I've dealt with harder legal issues than this. We can certainly make something work around the various number of plans we could have, but I would say yes, we want to do it at a workshop, at a work session first, and I will remind the board that we have a number of NEOLA review sessions and things going on in the meantime between now and then as well. So it will be relatively action-packed. We have to if we're going to hit a deadline, we're going to need to communicate quite extensively with the folks there and get as many options as possible and then begin filtering through them.
And we could put a hold on the agenda for the April 12th school board meeting, if that's what the board would like to do. That way it's noticed.
So let's shoot for the 7th work session. I'm sorry. I was going to say let's shoot for the 7th work session with the possible it being on the agenda for the 12th school board meeting, which kind of helps us deal with the timeliness that we need to deal with for the county and city of Red, town of Red.
And they just have to have the letter of intent. We don't have to have everything completely worked out, but, you know, there does need to be a letter of intent.
Yes.
Did they happen to share what their deadline is?
It's the end of April, for their letter of intent.
Okay.
What is the deadline for?
The county they need to, they're going to receive a grant. They have grant monies, and they have a deadline that they have to provide to show the intent to use these monies. Because if they don't have that, then they lose
the money.
They lose the money.
Oh, okay,
If that
so
makes
it's more
sense.
about the money than the other. Okay.
Yes,
well,
so
that changes
it's the
urgency.
intent.
If we're talking about not playgrounds, we're talking about the funds.
For the
and
playground.
And for playgrounds. Oh, a guy well, I'm just saying, I know, the chairman's cracking up. Well, look, I was the last to get the memo. I don't think I even got the memo until just about 30 seconds ago. So we're talking about money that the commission would lose if they didn't put in something, and they would like to involve us because we own some of the land?
We have land. So the town of Reddick and the county commission, they would like to place a playground somewhere in Reddick, and they've searched around at different areas of land. And of course, you know, with Reddick Elementary being there and stuff, it just I could see why it makes sense for them. So we have some land that's just sitting there, and so they're wanting to know if they could maybe do a long-term lease, or I know there's just different possibilities that could probably be explored. And as a board, I was just asking for permission for us to explore that with them, if that makes sense. But we can't move forward unless the board, you know, agrees that we would like to explore that.
What's the deadline date?
I'm not exactly sure. I know it's the end of April, so that's why the urgency would probably be.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it on the 7th in the work session. The information will come to us, and we'll be better informed then. And if it needs to be, we can move it to the board meeting on the 12th.
Maybe bring them here to talk to us. You know, bring the commissioners over, or
I'm sure Mayor
administrator or whomever.
Probably would from Reddick.
Yes.
And I mean, how about we let Dr. Gullett's staff figure that out.
I'm open to that.
Yes.
I'm open to that, especially with the deadline.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Okay. Ms. Thor?
Thank you. Yes, happy spring to everyone. This is our first board meeting of the spring, and before you know it, we'll be having a board meeting right after graduation, which seems unbelievable how fast this year has gone by. And also I wanted to congratulate Board Member King on about to inherit a son-in-law.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. And I was just going to say, I know you guys are going to have a great time with the Olympians this weekend, and I will not be there and get to enjoy the fun because I will be celebrating a wonderful marriage.
Yeah, so Board Member King's daughter's getting married, and that's your only daughter, correct? Yes. So congratulations, and I know you're going to have a great weekend, and there's always a lot to plan leading up to it, but when it finally happens, it's just about always magical. So I definitely pray that for you and for everyone else. And then the only other thing I have, and this is something that I've brought up off and on, and it has to do with a potential solution in terms of continuing to offer the type of transparency and dialogue and progress that we've made as a board. And what I have discovered anyway is I think we've found what works for the community. And it doesn't appear to be providing a larger venue. And I was looking back through all of our viewership. This board, I know it was when we first started, we had directed that the YouTube televise our work sessions live and then have all work sessions and all school board meetings be televised live and then kept available in perpetuity, I guess, for anyone that wants to look at them. And just looking at the numbers over the past few years, since 2020, and even back to 2019, our viewership of school board meetings are typically running over 1,000 to 1,400 views on YouTube. And we certainly don't have that type of attendance here. And that disappoints me a little bit because when I was first elected, I was thinking, okay, if we just provide a more welcoming venue, then surely they will come. And I think what I've learned through this is that people really do rely on technology, and they like having the flexibility to watch meetings when they want to, maybe watch part of it, come back and watch later, whatever their different preferences are. And so I feel pretty confident that we have made our community feel welcome should they ever choose to come and see us in person. We have had some work sessions in the past that have been quite well attended, and it's because there was a topic that was of big community interest. And that was also interesting to me because our work sessions are at 9 in the morning, and you would think that that wouldn't be as convenient for people. But what I noticed with talking with the crowd was there were citizens that were coming by first thing in the morning and saying what they had to say at the public comment and then going on to work. And I've also been a little bit worried about our citizens that work nights and citizens that work evenings. We have a lot of warehouse employees, and even if they wanted to come in the evenings, chances are they probably wouldn't be able to because of their work sessions. Or because of their work schedules. So they may be the ones that are looking at the YouTube. And it's interesting to see the viewership grow. Like there might only be 300 views tonight, but a couple of weeks later, then it just grows and grows for a while. So I just kind of wanted to offer up as a potential solution for the board to consider that we go to very early morning meetings for our school board meetings with a really focused agenda. Again, because I feel like we have done what we've needed to do to help our community participate, but I'm not sure we've done everything we can do to support our employees. And it would make sense to me anyway, that if we had a very focused agenda where the agenda covered high school topics first, then families or parents that wanted to come and make a public comment could do that, and then maybe have anything that's related more to elementary be later in the agenda, and that's getting into the weeds a little bit. I just want us to continue to arrange our agendas, to arrange our start times, so that we get maximum participation and minimum waste of time. And I feel like from the employees' perspectives, that being here for our board meetings, that's part of your job, but at the same time, they also have to be free and available to serve and support schools. So I'm just wanting to offer that up as a possibility. There are several counties already that do this. They have work sessions in the evenings and board meetings in the mornings. There are some that flip-flop it year to year. Again, to try to maximize participation. I can see from our community citizens that many of them do have to get to work. And if they had something that they truly wanted to be present for, which public comment can only be made in person. And it does pain me a little bit that we don't hear really from parents. And it appears to be because they're getting what they feel like they need to get by watching it at their leisure, but not coming in. And this would be an opportunity for them to come in on their way to work or after dropping their kids off at school or as they're getting ready to do errands in the morning. I think there seems to be a tendency to want to get up and out. And they could pop in, they could say whatever they have to say, especially if we had our public comment at the beginning like we do now. And then they could go on their way and not have to sit and wait. So that's something that I just wanted to get the board's input on. This is something that I know that almost everyone sitting here knows that it's been a focus of mine. How can we increase the partnership with our families and our community? How can we make it easier to be accessible? And also, how can we adjust and help our employees so that since they have to be here anyway, let's get them in on a focused agenda. They can be there for what they need to be there for and then get off and do their thing. So that's the only topic that I had to discuss tonight. I really like the idea of having a more efficient and predictable time frame for our meetings, and I think our agenda drives a lot of that. And this may be a potential solution that would be worth trying. So I welcome anyone and everyone's feedback and input.
Thank you, Mr. Orr. Mr. Brown.
Yes, I'm a big believer in, if you better get closer to the mic, I'm a big believer if you're going to have community communication, you've got to do it when people are not working. So it's got to be in the evening, the board meeting. You can have workshops. I would question the need at the board meeting to have all our employees. I kind of question that. I mean, if somebody wants to be here, that's all right with me, but I would question the need once it gets to this level. Be here if you want to, but I don't think we require. Superintendent, do we require your whole staff to be here because it's a board meeting?
No, sir, just my cabinet is expected to be here.
Your cabinet is, okay. And, okay, so, and that's, I guess that's just part of the job. So, it's 5 o'clock, 5:30. We're doing this not for the cabinet, but we're doing it for the community, and we're doing it for the district, and ultimately the students in education. So, and the idea of the YouTube is great. I think we're getting down to the point where I see our new cameras. Now, I've been pushing for these, reducing the cost and not having it be so labor intensive. And so this means, boy, we can really get some effective, this is about like Congress. We can get a focus on these meetings, get the word out, and people are off work and they can come in, and our speakers, I truly think, I don't want to hit a tender subject, but I think we got to treat our speakers better. Anybody that comes in here to speak is not an adversary, even if they have a message that we're not really happy with. So I think you'll bring in a whole lot more people. And one of the items that I have on my deal is the idea of where we are in the room. So I think that would do a huge amount for bringing people in, because we would be able to hear them, they would be able to hear us, and this is twice as big as we were before, for years and years and years, decades actually. So I would say no, do not put it in the middle of the day. You will lose all those people. YouTube is only YouTube. That's Google, that's social media. Wow, for my part, that pulls you away. I've got a YouTube channel. I put it out there. I don't have 1,000 people, but I don't have 44,000 students and 7,000 employees either. However, I do get an awful lot of people coming, and y'all are welcome to go to it anytime you want to. But no, do not do it in the morning. People are expecting to go to work, and they just have a lot of responsibilities in the day. By the end of the day, boom, we're all happy, we're all there. So that would be my input on the subject.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Ms. Campbell?
Are those all of Mr. Browning's comments, or am I just going to my full comments?
No,
Am I
no,
talking about what
we
Ms.
were
Thrower's talking
referring
about?
to hers.
Okay, all right. So I was typing,
I thought,
if we're just addressing what Ms. Thrower was
Yeah,
saying. Okay. That's what I'll address now, and then we'll figure out what's
Yeah,
going
that's what I was doing.
So I had a couple of comments, actually, that I was going to make in reference to some things that have already been said. I agree that whatever we can do to ensure that the community participates in a greater way, I am all open for whatever that looks like. There are a couple of things that were just mentioned about the cabinet and staff and those that are here for our meetings. And my understanding and impression is the reason that these folks are here and a part of all of our meetings is because we have very important decisions that were being made that, especially those items that have been pulled for discussion, that are going to impact how the staff implements those decisions. And they need to be aware in real time of comments that are being made here. Additionally, if we have questions of specific areas that might fall under one of said staff members, then they're here to answer those questions in the event that we have something that, if we had a question about, I don't know, if we had a question about budgeting and we really were delving into it very extensively and it was so detailed and we're just going on a rabbit trail, we very well might call Ms. Boston Ellis up here to help clarify whatever the rabbit trail was we were on. So the cabinet's involvement and their participation of being here, even if they're sitting in the back, I see value in them being here, and I understand why they are. I also want to express, as Ms. Thrower was saying, it's the predictability of our meetings that hasn't been happening of late. As a candidate, and those of you who were on the board when I was a candidate, you all know I attended nearly every work session for as long as I could and every board meeting. And there was a consistency to the predictability. Not saying that conversation was lacking, not saying that diplomacy and professionalism and all of those things were lacking at all, because they weren't. But there was a level of formality and predictability, frankly, that came specifically to the board meetings. The fact that a board meeting would last longer than an hour would be because there were 15 people for public comment. I mean, there was some level of consistency when it came to that. Board work sessions certainly were those times when got into the weeds, and that was the purpose of those work sessions and why they needed to have that extensive discussion. If we flip-flopped them, that would probably have us sitting here as the only people for hours and hours and hours. I mean, I appreciate the thought of them, but frankly, if I were to be honest with why I believe people are looking at YouTube instead of, is 2.5, 3+ hours of their time on a Tuesday evening while they're at the soccer field or something else, our teachers, our staff, they don't want to give up their Tuesday evening to be here for 4 hours. I mean, I'm sorry that the folks from the cabinet have to, because they've worked a full day since 7 a.m. for most, if not even earlier. So I think that's why people are viewing our meetings on YouTube, especially now more than ever, because they don't want to give up the time we never know that we're going to be here. I have a son that I technically should be picking up at 9 o'clock from Bellevue High School, but I told my husband it's possible that I might not be based on the number of items that were pulled tonight and had no idea where discussion was going to go. So, I mean, there used to be a level of predictability, and I knew that coming in as a board member, and there hasn't been that level of predictability of late, I'll just say. But I am open to whatever recommendations that we have to ensure that our community is more engaged with our conversations. And whatever time that looks like, I am open to it.
And that we're also honoring the time of our employees as well. And a word about the cameras, we very quickly moved here, never having had board meetings here before. So I see the evolution and the progression of the lighting and the cameras and the automation. And I'm not surprised at all, because that's Kevin Christians and his team. You know, you took a raw stage and you are now broadcasting very professionally done meetings, which, you know, as a woman, I appreciate that you get our best sides, and Board Member Browning's too. You know, it does make a difference. It professionalizes our board, and we don't want to just look good, we also want to be good, and that's the topic and the reason why I bring this up. It does concern me that, you know, we are leaving out a whole pretty sizable chunk of our population that simply cannot get here for meetings because they work in the medical field, they work evenings, they work nights, they work overnights. You know, some people could have hit a meeting on their way home from work. They could drop their kids off, and if it's something on the agenda that they really want to speak to, they can pop in and say what they have to say. You know, we've been doing it. Weren't we just having a conversation about doing things the same way for 40 years? We've been having these board meetings at 5:30 ever since I can remember. So, but it's not just, I already ran it up the flagpole. I want to hear everyone's input.
Listen, I guess it's my time to say something on that topic. Whatever we can do to have community input, to be accessible to the public, I'm all for it. I do want to always honor and value our staff's time and their right to family and their right to being doing those things. We got about 9 people here tonight that's been here, and I could tell you they've been here since about 7-something, almost 8 o'clock this morning, because I saw them when they were coming in. So they've been here. And so here it is, 12 hours later, they're still here. So that demonstrates to me a dedication and a commitment to this district and to doing what's necessary for our students and for our community. So whatever we can do to facilitate community, the public, I'm for it. However it looks, we're going to work it out. We've had some growing pains. We knew we were going to have some growing pains when we came over here to this, and I was pleased. I always said we'll work out the bugs, we'll work out the kinks, we'll work them out. So tonight you see the evolution of our school board production broadcast, and I'm glad to see we got the new cameras, or the cameras moved over, and it's a big difference. It's a huge difference. It opens up the stage a lot more. But we're going to continue to evolve. We'll continue to get better. It'll continue to get better and better and better. Sometimes I think we expect perfect instantly, and perfect doesn't come instantly. Sometimes you have to try some different things out to get the perfect formula combination. So whatever we can do to facilitate that, I thank you for bringing that up, Ms. Thor, because we do need to be accessible to our community. And you're right, there are parents, there are families that can't be here in the evening, and then there's, just like there's some that can't be here in the evening, there's some that can't be here in the mornings. So I don't know how we can facilitate every person, but trying to facilitate as many people as we can. So.
Right, and we'll never get 100%, just like you never get 100% approval. And the mission becomes continuing, you know, to make tweaks so that we continue to be more and more successful. And I would propose starting at 7 a.m.
I'm a morning person. I am a morning person. And I like the thought of just trying it a couple times, so that way we'll know. If we don't ever try to have we'll never know. So I'm not saying from a certain point just keep doing it if it's not working, if we don't find a difference, but I would love to try it. And I am a morning person, and I don't know.
Y'all don't want to do early with me, because these folk out here, you know, they start getting texts from me like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, because early is early for me.
Well, they're here at
So,
7 o'clock.
but I'm listen. 7 is fine with me.
It
That's
makes me go about their day too.
yeah. We can move the day on. So I'm an early bird. So that you guys, that's a challenge. I like that one.
Can we start in the summer? I'm like, I just have to, as a mom who has drop-offs in the morning, like if that 8 o'clock works great for me because I have a drop-off at Osceola at 7:45. But so, I mean, 8 o'clock is terrific. We can start an hour, but maybe in the summer and whenever we're transitioning into only having 2 drop-offs instead of 3 drop-offs. Right now I have 3 in 3 different schools, so my drop-off schedule is, I try to help my husband.
I'm still dropping kids off too. So
I know.
I understand.
I know, I'm like,
I'm an early riser.
the fact that I can't help him tonight is like,
And I'm an early, I guess you call it early in the morning to bed. I'm typically retire at 3, okay? So you just have to get up around 80, and then you'll understand what I'm talking about. But I have operated that way for a good bit of my life, and that's why I typically had to own the company. Otherwise, I'd have been fired. But I would say for all you folks, unless there's some reason you have to be here, you are excused. I have no idea why you're sitting there when the entire community has departed. So please, you're not going to be called on my account, and I think the superintendent would be happy to have you go. Head on out.
they don't report to us.
Don't do that, Mr. Brown.
I'm making Mr. Browning's comment. You know, anyhow, I'll defer until it's my moment at the speaker.
Still going.
So I respect, Allison, that you're a mamist, and that is tough. So you're right down the road, maybe 8.
8 is perfect. 8 is perfect. Instead of not, I mean, yes, if I can, right now, if I can just get 2 of them to school and not have, I mean, that 8 is perfect. That's what I do whenever we start at 9. I can't take the 3rd one anyway. So it'd be great.
So, but y'all, listen, I'm just gonna let y'all know this. My 15-year-old son has his restricted driver's license. So all you're trying to do is make me buy him a car. Because that means I don't have to take him to school anymore. He'll be driving. So
He'll be happy about
So he's
that.
probably listening to this meeting tonight saying, you know, when we going car shopping? Not this weekend. So not this weekend. So I'm good with that.
I guess it comes down to what we're really trying to accomplish here, how many people we are affecting in the way that we conduct our meetings, always with an eye to being as inclusive as we possibly can, and also very mindful of everyone's time. And that was the premise for me bringing this forward, and to just finalize, and hopefully we can come to some kind of a decision tonight of what we're going to do, because maybe I'll be the only elephant in the room that'll say it. I feel like currently the meetings are dragging, they're not sharp. I really want to get back to that. I love always spirited conversation. And I've said from before I even got elected that the most important thing to me is making sure that we are providing the most comfortable venue that we can and a time frame where people can feel comfortable coming, or if they don't want to come or it can't fit into their schedule, that we have an alternative, which technology is providing for us. I can't say that I'm going to continue to feel comfortable meeting at 5:30 when we've done that for 30 or 40 years and never tried anything different. That's not what this board is about. And I do feel for you, Vice Chair Campbell, because you do have kids, and you have kids in the morning and you have kids in the evening. So I can see how predictability is so important to you. At least then you would know they're going to start in the morning, we're going to have a focused agenda, they're going to be tailored to make sure that only the people that really need to be here are here to speak to items that, as board members, if we have questions, that's who we should be directing our questions to. That's why they're here. And I do my best to ask these good folks my question ahead of time so they don't feel like they have to sit here for hours, but things do come up. And if we can't get the answers we need, then that way the item has to be tabled, and then we're holding up business. I'm not comfortable with this business model lately, at all. So I'm game for 8. I say, let's go, let's try it.
So we will be having a conversation about moving these.
And we do have the right to, as a board, to decide whenever we want to have our meetings, but we have to vote on it, I think, right?
Right.
That's correct, and it has to be published, and we have to, as of right now, we have an annual calendar where in advance we announce what our proposed dates are, and then we alter them. So if I'm not sure what time our calendars come up for renewal, but we can certainly renew it on the fly at any time. It's not that hard.
Well, I know we do the times and date and place at reorganization.
Right.
Meeting every year. I think we can modify the time of meetings.
Just like we modified the location. We had to do
Correct.
that after.
Just like we modified that, yeah.
We just have to be advertised.
Correct.
Okay. And coming into summer especially, that might be really nice for people to have an earlier day. Never know till you try.
So Attorney Powers, can you look into that and give us some direction? Give the
Absolutely.
Superintendent and the team, see how we can make that happen?
Absolutely.
We can at least try it over the summer and see how it works. Let's give it the old college try.
I'm happy. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anything else, Ms. Thorne?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Was that enough?
Mr. Browning?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Okay, well, let's see. I didn't have it as a remark because I thought 5 o'clock, 5:30 was pretty standard, but I would really have to think about that puppy because where I come from, golly, I'll just have to maybe have coffee made here, you know, that type of thing. I got like a hour drive. I leave an hour to drive up here, and then an hour to wake up, and then I almost am not going to bed. So that's my own personal situation, and I'll be glad to, talk about it more. But I am a big believer in one of the most enjoyable meetings we have is this 5:30 meeting. Personally, that really works for me. So let's see. What do I have? All right. The governor, our legislature just closed up, and the governor's been coming out. He's got 3. If you haven't seen them, take a moment, look. The governor has 3 very, very pointed, directed presentations on education and teachers and funding. It's what we talk about all the time. I'm probably going to be at one tomorrow. It's going to have a lot to say about funding for teachers and that type of thing. And our legislators, I just think there's no better way is once they finally come to a conclusion to pull things, like honor it with really understanding what they're saying. And we have such a great state, great governor, great legislature, and this county has such a strong delegation, just a strong delegation. It's powerful. I'm proud to be out there walking around with them when we're up there. Second item, it was brought to my attention that we go to visit the prison, and it was brought to me today that we have a pipeline from the 3rd grade and these children, and we got to understand. I said, why are we going to a prison? And I could go to a prison. I could go do that, but I believe prisons are on the way out. Prisons are old, ancient history, as far as I'm concerned, and to ever time to our students and have a pipeline to a prison, and that would be the reason. That was the way it was brought to me. That I want to go down so hard on this, on the side. I'll go to a prison. I have no problem. It's an institution. It's something that's there. I have actually worked with the Department of Correction when I was on the Arts and Culture Council to reduce problems in prisons using art and using psychology to reduce the serious cost, if not the human tragedy of people incarcerated. We were getting them to play music and what have you, and art. If you do it at the top of a gang, and those are very gang-oriented in a prison, you've got a hierarchy. If you can get the top guy to play, say a banjo or a guitar or paint, then it filters on down. If you get a lower level person to do it, it doesn't work, and they might be considered problematic. So what I would say is, rather than dwell on the negative, if we could take and have and set up a superintendent, if you can get us set up, you got to set this, I would be happy to get us at like the University of Florida. I would love to go where we are sending our students, where there is a pipeline, true pipeline, not the negative fear, uncertainty, doubt, oh, wait, do this or else you're going to end up in a cell. No, we aren't going there. Nobody here's been in a cell. I haven't been in a cell. You haven't been in a cell, or no cells I'm admitting to. Short Patrol might come up and say different. But so I would, I don't mind a prison idea, but that can't be our focus. It has to be at Central Florida College. We can go down. I've lectured down at the university, Central Florida University. We can do any of these, anything that's positive, I'll go, because that's truly our pipeline. Okay. Yeah, juvenile justice, wow. I've been involved in that. I've been sat on the board, and my heart's there. But that's eliminating that stuff, not encouraging it or glorifying it, or I believe it's history anyhow. Okay, next item, Stanton-Weirsdale. We did have our meetings. I got a report. Haven't been through. I've only been through it once. Just read it this evening, and it is basically a no. And so I am going to go ahead and reopen the file we have on the Title VI issue down there. We have the funds that have been applied for. We've gone through all the procedures. We have the safety issue. We have the walk-in zone. We have, the funds have been granted, the HUD funds. So I'm just going to reopen that file. And we allowed it to be closed some time back. It can just be reopened. So I'll be going down that road because we have to be safer down there. It pretty much was decided that that isn't something that was going to happen. And I'm just going to take a different approach with that one, because we do have federal issues, and we are under Title VI, and we have to have equality, and so, that's just this board member. I touched on it, but I would like to see a workshop scheduled for this venue, because we do have the space. We can easily put a right there, protective zone. We have the room for folks to be able, almost unlimited folks, to be able to come and listen and participate, while we have at least double, if not, I was trying to do the math without remeasuring, at least double the space we had before. And so, and all the cameras would work, everything would work, and we have the ability for folks to access. If we want to be up here elevated, if this is the room we want to use, we can do it. And I would just like to see a workshop on it. I believe we can hit a home run with this and have people close. I actually went up and did a hearing test, because I have a terrible time hearing this. Hearing's fine. Everything's good. Everything's up to speed. I think we can do a better job in communicating with the public by having right here a venue. This does not, I don't need that much space. So I think we can set right there. We can cant it slightly. Everybody can see. We have the cameras, the whole thing, at least consider it and do some workshop time on it. And any input that anyone has for it, even disabled or whatever, we can have, we have everybody speaking from there. We could have a disabled, spot where we can accommodate them beautifully, because we can get all the way out, we can get all the way to the podium. There's just so many good things that we can have, and I think it'd be very positive. Let's see, media awards. We're about to do media awards, and it occurs to me that we have a beautiful teaching opportunity. I know we used to use the videoing and all for education's sake, and we're an educational organization, and we could. I want to push on this very heavily with the superintendent and with staff to try to. If you're going to go into the media world, we could benefit so much by our students and our staff that's already in this game. And instead of spending a tremendous amount of money to sort of reinvent YouTube, we've got these things. They're out there existing, and they're going to get more so as time goes on. So I would love to tie in and let the awards tie in to a student being able to lay claim to the authorship of a very successful broadcast. What a great idea, what a great opportunity. It's exciting. We've got grown-ups in a room who could help and teach. We've got these programs. It could link beautifully into the arts. There's just so many opportunities, educational opportunities, and you could go right straight into Fox Broadcasting, having put out a program, taking photographs, all that. These students could come out with a certificate and with the credentials of having had this big a group, and we'd probably be leaders with all the different districts. And just help students learn this, because this is the future. Being able to broadcast and social media and get that out with the satellite projection overhead, the bandwidths that are expanding. There's just so many opportunities. I can see somebody going off to Harvard having so many great credentials already in their pocket, and from this school district. So that's something near and dear to my heart. I'm going to push hard on that one as well. Got like a 5-year plan. I'm wearing out. We all get old. You all will understand it when you get as old as I am. You begin to get to a point where you start saying, hey, we got to pull some of this together, and it's time. Pull it together and make a difference, and especially for these beautiful children. Actually, some of them are adults, or students that we're responsible for educating. What an opportunity. I'm just thrilled to be able to be here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Vice Chair.
So many comments there that I'm just not even going to go on any of that, because we've been here a really long time, and clearly I'm not going to make it to pick up my son in the next 20 minutes. So I love the Kids Tag Art program. I've been a part of that program for many years. Jenkins Auto Group and other sponsors help contribute so that we're able to receive the $20,000 check. And I love, my new tag from the student from Madison Street Academy. It has beautiful cherry blossoms and says love on it. Love that. Also wanted to say thank you to Melanie Slaughter for coming to us again. She is a strong advocate specifically for our student athletes, and that is near and dear to my heart. And I'm just grateful that she always brings us things that we actually can make changes on. Looking forward to honoring our Olympians coming up. I am going to spend just a moment on this, because I know that we all visit our schools. I know that we do, but a unique opportunity last week, the week just before spring break. I just want to say our employees are rock stars. And just one day of visiting schools last week, actually Dr. Gullett and I attended together, but here's what I witnessed in about 3 hours. A teacher who had just had chemotherapy the day before, who was present in her classroom to support and celebrate her students who had performed exceptionally well in the QSMA. In that same classroom, we also were introduced to a new student from another country who doesn't speak English at all. We went across the hall and were introduced to students who were celebrating significant increases in their QSMA scores, some by more than 40 percentage points. Then we walked out to find another employee who was experiencing a family crisis that diverted the principal away to care for her staff person in time of need. All of this was in about an hour time frame, the principal walking around with us, witnessing all of this, supporting her staff who is struggling health-wise, supporting a staff member who's struggling with a family crisis, supporting children in a classroom that don't speak English. That was one school. Then we visited another school with more rockstar employees. I had the opportunity to engage with one specific first grade student working on math problems on a Chromebook. It was unique for me to watch the challenges that student was experiencing with adding 1 and subtracting 1, a first grade student. Because I was never a teacher in early grades, it made me question if that's typical for the third 9 weeks for a first grade student. But yet the classroom was full of students who were thriving and other things like that as well. I only use that as an example to say our employees are rock stars. We did take a little bit of time out to have some fun, serve up some grilled cheese and grilled ham and cheese to support some employees, but it's difficult for us up here to have a real perspective on what our employees are dealing with on an everyday basis when we're just sitting here. And all we're doing is sitting here, making decisions, and not actually out there in the trenches and seeing what they're going through. So I want to say huge kudos to all of those employees who are rock stars every day, making a huge impact in kids, never knowing what's going to show up in your classroom on a daily basis, never knowing when you're going to have that new student that may show up and not speak any English, or may show up and have whatever the other situation might be, or when your health crisis or your family crisis is going to divert your attention away, and that principal then has to be diverted. And we just have amazing people working in this district, and just a glimpse into it last week made me have an all-new respect for what our employees actually are doing. So I'm wrapping up with saying, today is the start of the final 9 weeks for our students and our educators. I hope that our staff has come back from spring break rested and refreshed, and I really hope students as well understand that we have 9 weeks to go, actually 8 weeks and 1 day. Let's finish strong, everyone, and make these last 9 weeks count. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
I want to applaud.
Yeah, that's a great speech. That was heartfelt.
It was.
Thank you. First, I just want to say welcome back to everybody from the spring break. It was needed. Wish it was longer, but it was needed. We had, sometimes you just need a break to get away and clear your head and think. I want to say congratulations to Ms. King as well. I know you're excited about.
And your daughter Allison. Sorry, I meant to say that. I was wrapped up in.
Right, all the preparations that you've been going through the last few weeks and months, and all of the ups and downs of having a wedding. I don't envy you. so I know it's coming to a head. So enjoy it. I also want to say thank you to our OPD officers tonight, Officer Cabrera and Officer Berry. Thank you for being here, keeping us safe. To our Safe Schools staff who are here as well, Mr. McFadden and all those that are back there, keeping us safe, keeping this building safe, and making sure that we have meetings that are welcoming and inviting and safe for the community to attend. I truly appreciate all that you guys do. Coming from law enforcement, I understand what you do and what your expertises are in making sure that everybody comes in good and everybody goes home good. So thank you for what you guys do all the time, all the time. I don't take it for granted. We are this weekend having the celebration for the Olympic, the 3 young people from Marion County that went to the Olympics. It's going to be a wonderful celebration. A lot of planning has gone into it. I see Ms. Devick here, and Mr. Tucker, and Ms. Davita Randolph, who was over at Howard Academy. They have been very instrumental in making sure that the Marion County School District was involved in this process and will be playing a role in this weekend. Board members, we all are invited to, I think you've probably gotten your invites for the Friday night induction of Aaron into our Black Archives and Museum, which is housed at Howard Academy. So that's going to be a wonderful celebration this Friday, but also the parade that's going to take place on Saturday afternoon. I want to say thanks to Sue Mosley. She has put together a float or something for us to all ride on and get down the road safely. And I thank the superintendent for I wanted to make sure that we did some proclamations and things. And I know sometimes people don't like to do proclamations and regular resolutions, but this is something very, very special for our area. This is very special for Marion County to have these young people, 2 of them who matriculated in public schools here, to go off into the Winter Olympics and represent Marion County well. So I'm just so proud of them and look forward to the weekend, spending some time with them and everything that's going to happen with this weekend for that. Mr. Browning mentioned about the prison. There is April 13th, there is a planned trip to one of our local correctional facilities. And let me kind of give you the genesis of this situation. As many of you know, I come from a law enforcement corrections background, and for almost 25 years, seeing the effects of those who are not educated properly walk through those gates and then go out those gates and then come back into those gates, and to see that revolving door. And one of the common denominators that I always saw was not being educated and trying to understand how can someone be an adult and not have the basic fundamental needs that they needed to survive, and understanding why sometimes, because they didn't have those needs, it led them to a different path. And oftentimes, and this is not, it's not a myth, this school to prison pipeline. It's not a myth. It's not something that's constructed in someone's head. It is a actual system, I would say, because when we started building prisons in Florida, we started looking at numbers, and those numbers came from kids that were failing in 3rd grade. That's where the numbers come from, and on how many prison beds to build, and basically timing it out so that those beds would be online when these kids were of age to go to prison. So it is a real thing, and I suggested that we do. Sometimes we know the beginning of the story, but we fail to find out what the end of the story is. And there's a full story with this. We as board members, and all of you may not go, I may be the only one going, that's fine. I think we owe it to the community to see if it is legit, if it is just a myth, and to see where we are missing some things or where we can do some things differently to help. Mr. Brown, I appreciate your optimism that prisons are on their way out, but You talk to the legislature, they're still putting beds together. So I don't see them on the way out. They may be changing or evolving. I just don't see them on the way out. And I'm sure all of my fellow sisters and brothers that work in law enforcement and corrections don't feel that it's on the way out. We owe it to the community to find out what we can do to close this pipeline, to shut this pipeline down. We're either going to spend money on the front end or we're going to spend on the back end. I'd rather make wise investments with the money and be a good steward of taxpayers' funds by putting it in early education, by making sure that when they get to third grade, that they are successful, that they can read, that they are, that they do have the fundamentals to survive. What happens is, and what I've done, I've observed, I've watched, when kids aren't successful by the age of third grade, they start, because they can't read, because they can't get up in the classroom and articulate the way they should articulate, they become the class clown, or they become a disciplinary problem, and they start acting out, and it progresses. And by the time they get to middle school, some other behaviors may have shown up. So I really need us to be aware of the whole story, of the full story. Today I was at a school today myself, and I want to thank some of the pastors. I won't put their name out there, but they know who they are, because one of our middle schools reached out to us and said that, hey, we got some issues. We got some kids that are fighting in the streets, that are fighting on the sidewalks, that are fighting after school, and it's dangerous. They may not be on campus, but they're fighting near the schools, and they're fighting on the streets where fights spill over into the streets. People can get hit, buses, anything. And I want to thank those pastors that took it upon themselves to say, you know what, we're going to be in the community. We're going to be out there on the sidewalks. We're going to be there to make sure that these kids are going about their business. And not only did they do that, they also reached out to law enforcement and said, hey, we need some extra officers patrolling the area. I know we don't want to see our kids getting in trouble. We don't want to see our kids getting into the penal system, the legal system. So we have to do whatever necessary to try to prevent those things. That's why I was going so hard for this company, this Cut Different, because if they can help us keep these kids in school, if they can help these kids be successful by third grade and beyond, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And I look forward to other organizations and other groups. My fraternity, we have a group, a mentoring group, and it's open to anyone. Black, white, red, we don't care. We just want kids to be successful, and I believe that's the same model that Mr. Gilmore has with Cut Different, because as we were talking, it's amazing what technology does. People were texting me and saying, you know, he's been over at Oakcrest, but he's not just dealing with just black kids. He's dealing with some other kids that have also stepped up to the plate and are mentoring. So we owe it to the people that put us in these spots. We owe it to those thousands, 40,000+ students in our district. We owe it to our neighbors to try to put out great citizens through our school system. And so I'm always looking for something positive or looking for people that are positive, that want to help make our district better. And so we have a lot of work to do. We are in the last 9 weeks. I want to encourage all of these students to please go hard. Don't take your foot off the gas now. This is not the time to start coasting. This is the time that you go harder. Seniors, I know you guys are approaching graduation and proms and grad nights and all those different types of things, but still go hard, because after graduation, you got another day and another challenge and another goal and another standard and another bar to reach. So don't just go hard. Don't just start coasting now, because if you coast now, you'll wake up one day and say, where's the time gone? What have I done? So I want our kids to continue to coast, put their foot on the gas. I want to commend our staff. You're right, Ms. Campbell. We have a district of rock stars. I used to didn't like that term rock stars because I'm not a rock music fan, but you're right, they are rock stars, and they do so many positive things every day. They deal with so many things day in and day out, from one extreme to the next extreme, from a fight to a brawl to having to console a parent or even console a staff member. So our staff are doing some amazing things, and not just the ones in the classroom, not just the ones that deal with the students, but our support staff, our tech team, our audiovisual people. We have a district full of professionals, and I appreciate them. I truly appreciate them, and we don't tell them enough thank you. We sometimes take it for granted, but I encourage our superintendent, as always, to just continue to show them that love, that we appreciate everything that they're doing. Those folk that's sitting back there in the back of this auditorium aren't sitting back there because they don't have anything else they could be doing. I'm sure of that. I'm looking at all of them. They're saying, Reverend Cummings, please hurry up and shut up. And I'm going to get y'all out of here in a few minutes. But I appreciate them because
Class dismissed.
if I text any one of them, and I text them, I'm an early riser. I get up early in the morning, and I'm sending them texts and emails 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I always say they don't have to respond, but when they get up. But I'm sure my superintendent is probably saying, quit texting me early in the morning. But that's the dedication that they have. And here it is, 8:57. So I'm going to close my comment. I want us to be out of here in the next 3 minutes so that they can go home and do whatever they need to do. So I don't have any further comments. Again, thank you to our district. Thank you to all of our staff that do so much every day. So I'm good with that. Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge that board members have received alternative placement lists for students through February 23rd, 2022. Ms. Martinez-Lopez, do we have any parents who have submitted a timely request? Good. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of students JD 22093, JD 22094E, JD 22095, JD 22096, and JD 22099 with educational services through the remainder of the 2021-2022 school year and the first semester of the 2022-2023 school year. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Campbell,
Second.
seconded by Board Member Thrower. Any discussion?
Only discussion I want to mention on this is one of these issues with several children that are getting expelled is because their parent instigated it. Just going to say that. Because their parent instigated it. It's in the report. It's in all the information that our team investigated, and a parent instigated the issue that has caused these children to be expelled. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I saw that.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
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 Passed unanimously. It's 8:58, 42 seconds. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Moved by Ms. Thor,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Campbell. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Meeting adjourned at 8:58 and 57 seconds.